They try to silence the truth we shout, but we're still here, we're still calling out. Corruption hides behind a badge of name. We light the fire, expose the shame. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life mattered is the cry we sing for the ones they tried to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run nor hide. The stories echo, the pain runs deep. For stolen lives we can't just weep. Elected power, but their hearts are cold. We'll bring the truth, let it be told. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life mattered is the cry we sing for the ones they tried to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run nor hide. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight. The heroes undo the harm. Calling out corruption, we'll stand tall for justice and truth, we'll risk it all. My life mattered is the cry we sing. Together we rise, let freedom ring.
Hi there. Good evening, justice seekers and social change warriors. Welcome to our special edition of Friday Night Lies on a Wednesday. So we are back to discuss the current Karen Read trial number 2 and talk about the witnesses and their witness testimony. We are asking these questions of ourselves when we stream on Friday nights and tonight on Wednesday. Did the witnesses lie? Were they telling the 100% truth the whole time? Were they evasive, or was it a combination of all of those? So I think, as you saw since January, and we were revisiting Karen Read trial 1, we saw all of that happening. So I'm sure you will agree that what we've seen already this week, Monday through Wednesday, was a little bit of all of it. So welcome to all of you that join me live on Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. I'm Catherine Felton Page, the founder and your live stream host for Social Change Warriors episodes. Wednesdays is normally our Angry Bitch Club, where hashtag we swear, on Wednesdays we swear. That's the night that we get together and we just all talk and complain and bitch about really horrible, nasty things that are happening to really good people in our country. We stand for justice and for those to be arrested who unalived the victims that we're advocating for and their families that we've gotten to know. We feel so much passion for them, for the plight that they have been put in because the police and the government and anyone else that was in on this terrible unaliving of their loved one. And they have no justice for their loved one. Their loved one is simply gone, and the person who unalived them is simply out in the public, walking around, working their job, marrying new people, making new babies, and they're not in jail. And so we don't like that. We're against that. We're for arresting the right people and sending them to trial. And hopefully a jury of 12 of their peers will see that all the evidence points to them, that they unalived these lovely people, and we're advocating for them. So that's what we're about normally on Wednesday nights, is having a bitch session. You can talk about anything you want with me. You can complain, bitch, crab, cry, call out the dirty cops, the dirty government, the botched police investigations from all of these amazing people who are no longer with us because corruption got involved in their cases after their unaliving. Thursdays is our real, truly calling out corruption night, where we focus in on the crimes against the innocent, and that we can tell by the evidence has definitely involved police corruption and corruption in the government, which is what we're seeing in the Karen Read. So Karen Read and John O'Keefe, they've been covered on Wednesday, they've been covered on Thursday, they've been covered on Friday. Some of these cases, some of these wonderful humans that are no longer with us and the families that we've been blessed to meet, they cover all three of our nights. Some of the cases may only show up on a Thursday, or may only show up on a Wednesday, with the domestic violence as our main topic on Wednesdays. But a lot of these cases, they cross over and they have a lot in common. Ellen Greenberg, Sandra Birchmore, both framed for their own deaths by their fiance and or their boyfriend. In Matthew Farwell, Sandra Birchmore was her boyfriend, according to her. He was abusing her, according to him, and was just a very nasty sociopath human being who's thankfully arrested, but the others aren't yet. Ellen Greenberg, her family has suffered since 2011 because they changed her manner of death from a unaliving of herself, from a homicide to an unaliving of herself. And that's still on record right now. We're waiting for Pennsylvania to get their act together for this current medical examiner to look over all of the evidence and the recanting statement by the prior medical examiner, who now lives in my state of Florida. I'm going to have to dig into him and see what kind of crap he's pulling down in Florida with his ridiculous medical examinations of clearly murdered people. Sorry, YouTube, M-word people. So if you haven't been with us before, we are an advocacy channel. We are an advocacy movement. We are volunteers, me, all of those that come here and spend time with me on Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. And some of you spend time with me helping me research these cases. All of my victims' families, I spend time with as many of them as I have been able to contact and meet in person via the computer here, or in person in Florida with my 2 Florida cases, Where is Sarah Ebersol and Justice for Jason Veach. So we appreciate you. Advocacy takes a village. I can't just do it myself. I'm just here to spur you into it. I'm just here to get you pissed off about all of these people that didn't deserve to die. And then I rely on you to take the message that I share with you on Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays and put it on your social media and share it out with your friends and family who are interested in standing for justice for those that didn't get it and deserve it. So thanks to everyone in replay. I know it's busy. I know there's so many different advocacy channels now for justice, and so many true crime channels covering the trials and such once the person does get arrested or wrongly arrested in the case of Karen Read. So I appreciate you all on replay. It really means a lot to me. So thank you to all of you who have subscribed and hit that bell, because then you'll get alerted to when I do a live stream, and that helps our algorithm. And again, we're not monetized on YouTube. We want the algorithm to get going so that more people can learn about these wonderful humans who are no longer with us and help us to advocate for them. Because if you have been following the Karen Read trial, you can truly see how a village can make a difference, how people coming with their signs and their voices can make a difference. When I worked for Special Olympics, and my friend Kathy Coppins, who's out there somewhere in the screen tonight, will remember, I had T-shirts and sweatshirts made for people that couldn't afford to donate money. Not all of us can afford to donate money to causes, but we can donate our time. We can donate our brains. We can donate our mouth and our advocacy. And Glare, we can donate our finger, because the Glare called me a finger pointer. He doesn't like me for some reason. I'm still hoping the Glare will give me a second chance. I don't know what he's got against me. I was a little critical of Aiden a couple times, more in a motherly fashion, and that didn't go over well with LTL Media, Brian and the Glare. So they both hopped on and came after me with some insults. they were sticking up for Aiden. I get it. He's your friend. He's done an amazing job as a journalism Jesus, as he calls himself. But I'm an independent person. I beat to my own drummer. I don't have to agree with everything every live streamer does, and they don't have to agree with things I say or do. And I always welcome constructive criticism because I'm here to learn. I'm here to learn how to be the best live streamer advocate for victims of crime that I can be. My sole purpose is to help the families so they can get justice for their loved ones. So bring your comments, bring your criticisms. I welcome them. And the glare, maybe someday you'll come on my show and then you'll tell me I'm a good finger pointer, because I point the finger at corruption. I point the finger at dirty government. I don't care what side of the aisle they're on. I point the finger at people like Sam and Joe and Farwell twins, and on with the Stoughton police. It would take me all night to name them all because they're all dirty cops. And in Sam's case and Joe's case, they're nasty domestic violence offenders. And they're out there walking around getting away with murder. M-word, YouTube. So that's what I do. And I will continue to point the finger at them because this is my chosen volunteer job now. This is what I'm choosing to do as my volunteer work as I age out. And I'm hoping that I can recruit some of you to help me with Social Change Warriors so that when I go up to the big house someday, Social Warriors can live on. And I'm going to try to make it a nonprofit soon so that it can live on after me, because we need more Social Change Warriors in our communities. We all need to bond together and cry out loud for those that can no longer speak. My Life Mattered, which is one of our hashtags, and Just Us, which is one of our other hashtags, because sometimes it is just us. We don't have any help from police. We don't have any help from government. We, the people, have to talk and speak and protest and hold up our signs. And the t-shirts that I made for Special Olympics said, oh, no, I want to say it right. So I'll give you, it's been a long time since I made those. My gift to Special Olympics is my time. So I loved those shirts. We gave them away to all the volunteers to wear proudly, because that helps people that really can't afford to monetarily contribute. Doesn't make them less of an advocate. If you can't fly to Canton and protest in front of the courthouse, that doesn't make you less of an advocate. If you're coming to live shows and you're sharing the word out on your social medias, you are an advocate. You are a social change warrior, and you are a justice seeker. So thank you to all of you. It means a lot to the family members. Believe me, I've spoken to a lot of them, and I know how much your support means when they're trying to get justice for their loved one. So let me bring up on the stage our award-winning blogologist, the craziest person in Boston and possibly on earth, Julie.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, Julie. Welcome to Friday Night Lies on a Wednesday.
Don't mind me. I'm just with my very controlled leaf blower. You know how controlled these things are, right?
Absolutely. And you do know today I had to be snarky to Gallagher, and I made him his own meme today. So if you guys go on my social medias, Facebook or Twitter, I forgot to put it in the deck tonight, but I'll add it. So for Friday night, I can show it to you on the platform here. But the Gallagher, that's what I'm calling him now. It's the Gallagher. If it's anything that has to do with non-police policy, he pulled a Gallagher. That's going to be our new thing, right? I may even have to make some t-shirts up with the Social Change Warriors logo, and it'll say something to the effect of, don't pull a Gallagher.
But it was innovative and genius, and other people said so, and he had to record it because he's never seen that before, but he saw it before at the same time. And so he had to make sure that for his legacy, he was going to leave it for generations and generations on how to properly fuck up a crime scene of a murder victim. Get out of here.
Not to mention, I loved it when he said, Jackson said something to the effect of, so you thought it was okay to use solo cups to collect the blood samples? And he said, yep.
They hold liquid tremendously.
They hold liquid. He said tremendously. Yeah. Is that what was all the words he used? Tremendously.
Tremendously.
I quoted him. I know it's on there. So I put it in quotes on the meme that I put all over social media. So yeah, Lieutenant Gallagher, we need to talk, because I may not have ever been a detective. I may have only made it to community officer level, patrol officer level, the grunt of the police department, where you get to, pretty much make traffic stops and take all the calls that no one else wants. And then community officer, trying to get people to trust you when other cops are constantly effing up all around the country, and you're trying to work with your your community and get them to trust the police like they used to. Those are the things I had to do. I didn't get to do the death investigations. I wasn't a detective, but I certainly studied it, and I watched my coworkers.
Neither did he. So
yeah, and I watched my coworkers, so I can guarantee you that I know exactly what you're supposed to do at a crime scene and what you're not supposed to do. So he needs to come on our show and have a chat with us and tell us how he can possibly stand up to that.
He's going to have to, in my opinion, he's going to have to talk to higher people federally, allegedly.
I hope so.
We'll see.
Yeah, I hope so. But I definitely think, Tully was calling all the shots. It's been pretty obvious from the beginning. And Aiden's had, Aiden and all the other live streamers have talked about Tully is in deep in the corruption.
He's something. I mean, it seems like, even today when David crossed the guy Keith who Brennan was trying to bring in to talk about what the hell? What was he trying to bring in? He was trying to bring in Keith to talk about the medical examiner and DeChico and saying like, oh, well, you went with this person, Proctor, right? Proctor was the one who interviewed. It's like, yeah, I don't know who this guy is. I'm sorry, who did you say? Proctor? I don't know this guy. And he kept trying to bring him in and was like, well, I don't know. Tully was involved. And then yesterday with the CERT team, it was like, okay, well, who told you to pack it up and quit? Like, okay, we've done like 20 minutes. It's fine. It was like, exactly. Oh, Tully was involved. It's like, oh, okay. So who, I know that, in the Mass State Police, it goes all the way up to Colonel Noble, who's in charge, and then it's Major, Captain, all the other ranks. But
yeah,
he's pretty much, the head honcho there and kind of runs things. But yeah, like everybody else says, like, oh, all these people are involved, it takes, 200 people to all these people are framing. No, it takes like 5. And 2 of them, well, one of them we saw on the stand yesterday, in my opinion, was Gallagher. He was number one. He was number one head person. And I'm
glad you brought that up because I was wondering if you were going to, and I was going to bring it up too.
Right, absolutely. A1. Everybody else says, oh, it's Proctor, it's the state police. No, it started with Canton very early that morning. And it started with see, look, I'm getting so aggravated. I'm taking my leaf blower apart. But it started with this, where he basically took a novel crime scene where they didn't know anything of what happened, and basically said, hey, let me take a leaf blower and blow all sorts of shit and crap all over it and fuck it up for everybody so nobody can determine who did what. And then they go, oh, well, there was blood. Obviously, we knew it was John O'Keefe. How do you know, obviously? How do you know that somebody wasn't there?
Exactly. He could have been beat up by
somebody with roast beef. Well, what if the killer stopped at Kelly's roast beef and got a 3-way and bit into it and dripped roast beef juice, and then you use a Stop and Shop bag and tainted all the shit in the Solo cups that hold liquid tremendously, but it doesn't do anything if you don't do anything with it.
Exactly. Well, they found all kinds of DNA at crime scenes because a lot of criminals are stupid, and they found cigarette butts near crime scenes because, again, the criminal probably thought he put his pocket and he missed his pocket. No, put the cigarette out, missed his pocket, and it landed on the ground. Aha, we have DNA on a cigarette bud. Mr. So-and-so, what were you doing at the crime scene at, smoking cigarettes? So, you don't ever know what you're going to get, especially nowadays with the science of DNA. And for him to sit on that stand and say, we didn't suspect a crime had taken place. You don't know that. You can't possibly know that. That's exactly what they did with Sandra Birchmore. And now Judge Bev, Sandra Birchmore can't be brought up. Why the flip not? Why can't she be brought up? These same cops that fucked up John O'Keefe's crime scene, fucked up Sandra Birchmore's crime scene. So you're going to tell me that you can't mention Sandra Birchmore when all these same cops clearly covered for William Farwell? And if William Farwell sings like a bird, they're all going down. And if he doesn't sing like a bird, well, okay, then he's going to stand by the thick, thin blue line and protect all of his buddies who injured and hurt Sandra Birchmore mentally and bodily all those years.
I don't know. It's infuriating. And for him to sit there so smug, it's like, yeah, this is a great idea. I'm proud of it. And then turn around and say, no, I would never, ever, ever go inside the house, or never, ever bother a judge in the middle of a snowstorm, God forbid, to ask for a search warrant. But yet he went to a death again, you want to call it investigation or not, but you go to a death. And as far as I know, in Commonwealth of Massachusetts, if somebody is dead on the side of the road and it's of natural causes, it's still an investigation, because until you find out it's natural causes, like the report starts like, hey, we found a dead body, we checked it out, and yep, the person was 155 years old and they dropped dead. End of investigation. So you don't need to go further, but it's still an investigation no matter what. You can't say, oh, we just willy-nilly had bodies strewn about and we weren't sure, so I decided to get a leaf blower and solo cups and remove things from the crime scene on private property. Are you kidding me? That's going to be an issue if they ever get to what actually went on, to say like, oh, well, we found DNA and this stuff here. It's like, well, what were you doing on private property without a warrant? You just went there and just grabbed shit? Like, so you wouldn't go inside because you wouldn't get a warrant, but you'd go and grab shit and remove it and blow it all around the scene without a warrant? Make that make sense. And then they took it to a recused police department and left it there to rot in a bag. Like, wait a second, exactly like this for 3 fucking days to just sit there. Look, they still have the ones from my other crime scene in there. Look exactly like this, sitting in the fucking tally port. Jesus. Oh God. I went through a half a pack of cigarettes just listening to that, and I haven't smoked in a long time. So then I'm starting to wear my hair blind because it's aggravating. But oh, Kat, I think you're muted. You're muted.
I drink Diet Coke today because it's Friday Night Lies on Wednesday, and I'm already feeling the effects. My stomach does not like that stuff. But I've just been so keyed up this whole trial so far, because so I saw something online from a fellow social worker who said to me, this is like re-trauma for obviously Karen, number one, John's family, of course, Karen's family, all the friends of the family, all the witnesses, all of us. It's like re-traumatization having to listen to all this again. And especially those of us that know that they are lying, because we believe they're lying, because it's nothing is right. Everything's suspect. Tell me when in a case that they're claiming on the anti-free Karen Read side is cut and dried, that it's the whole razor bullshit, because that theory doesn't fit everything.
Occam's razor, yeah.
Thank you. I know I couldn't think, it was right on the tip of my tongue. That theory doesn't fit for everything, because every situation's different. Every homicide and manslaughter is different, because in manslaughter things happen fast and it's accidental. And it's not premeditated. When it's a premeditated, like a lot of our domestic violence victims that we stand for, like Ellen Greenberg, Sandra Birchmore, both premeditated. Suzanne Clark, premeditated. Suzanne Clark Simpson, premeditated. And I put out a big tweet today because I was fucking mad, because anti-free Karen Read now, all of a sudden, out of the blue, this last week, they're claiming that John is a victim of domestic violence. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Do you people have any clue what domestic violence victims actually go through, and how many of them are killed and their bodies are disposed of, like Jennifer Farber-Dulos? You just insulted every woman who's either been a victim by being punched, hit, kicked, yelled at every day for 15, 20 years, and then eventually a homicide victim. You are disrespecting every single one of them by claiming that Karen put domestic violence on John. That is utter and complete crap. So I was online today a couple times targeting those stupid people and putting up the hashtags of all of our victims. And I'll show you their pictures again at the end tonight, of all of the victims that I'm currently advocating for, who I have met and contacted their family and some of their friends. And I'm private messaging with some of their friends and family. I am extra mad. I'm mad for all the victims of domestic violence, but these particular core group that I'm advocating for justice, it absolutely burns me that they dare bring up the word domestic violence in John and Karen's case. Because let's just say, on the very outside crazy chance that she did accidentally hit him with her car when she backed up to leave because she was pissed and he was pissed, that is not domestic violence. That is still an accident. And them arguing is not domestic violence. All couples fight. my God, if you're going to put a domestic violence label on Karen, you're going to have to put one on every fucking person in America, because nobody survives a relationship without arguments and name calling, and sometimes sleeping on the couch, sometimes running home to their moms or their dads or whatever they need to do to get away from each other. So don't ever overuse or abuse the terminology that has to do with women that are abused by men, because domestic violence is a huge percentage of man on women. And yes, I understand all of you out there that have had it reversed, and we stand for you as well. But I'm just saying the percentage, the huge percentage, is man on woman. So to flip this around and make Karen Read a domestic violence abuser is very dangerous. And you all should apologize to every domestic violence victim in the world. There, that's my first rant of the night. Any comments, Julie?
Yeah, I mean, I know the numbers say, like it's always it's usually the good portion are men against women, men going against women, because that's basically like you said the statistics. It's what 87% or something like that. It's always or like the greater population seems to be against men against women. And yeah, it does happen with women against men in small percentages. But I mean, I understand, like I get like the gist, like the faint whiff of what they're saying. Like, okay, well, like if you look at your text messages, like I was in a relationship with somebody like that, where like you get like text messages where it's like, stop busting my balls, I'm trying to do this, that, and the other thing, and they'll send you something like, well, I'm going out, well, I'm doing this, well, I'm doing that, trying to get a reaction out of you, or just like to start something. Domestic violence, I don't think that gets to the level of domestic violence. Like have some issues, absolutely. Again, we talked about this. Let's be adults. She's not perfect. She's a human being,
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean like, well, she's crazy, therefore she obviously killed him. Like, no, people can have issues and be immature or whatever the case may be, and also have all this other shit happen. So.
Right. And they both weren't, nobody's perfect in a relationship.
Exactly.
Some people are better at it than others. Many people that can stay married 30, 40, 50, obviously 60 some years are better at it than most of us, because they found a way to coexist even on bad days and even on days they don't get along. But Karen and John were obviously not getting along for a while. They had problems in their relationship. Neither one of them were perfect, but John was by no means perfect. And we don't have to say he was perfect because he died. Just because you die doesn't mean you didn't do something wrong or bad in your life. So he definitely had issues with dealing with being in relationships, or he went to bed in so many. And that's his choice. He can stay single. He could have stayed single till he's 80. I don't care. But don't say you're good at something when you're not. Don't get on social media and make John out to be this prince, this saint of a boyfriend when he wasn't. He had his challenges. He had his problems. He was trying to raise kids that were his niece and nephew. That's huge. That makes him a saint on that level of category. But it doesn't make him a saint as a boyfriend. It doesn't make him a good boyfriend. And Karen Read, she obviously had her issues too with handling jealousy. We all have a bad jealousy bug in us. Some of us control it better than others. I'm not going to sit up here and say that Karen Read did a good job controlling her jealousy. I don't think she did necessarily. She has a short fuse, and we saw that in her messages and such. But remember this too, guys. 20 years ago, there were no cell phones. There was no way to even leave messages. Well, maybe 20 years ago. Let's go back 30 years then. There weren't even answering machines when I was growing up, right? I'm 62 years old. We didn't have the luxury of leaving a message. We had the luxury of being patient. That's what we had the luxury of. When we called someone and they weren't home, it rang and rang and rang. When they were on the phone talking to somebody else, it was the busy signal. Beep, 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 beep,
Yeah,
beep. And then you might end up going, God dang it, I've been trying to get a hold of this person all day. Click. Or God dang it all, why don't they stop talking on the phone to other people? Click. But there was none of this crazy me, now, answer your phone, answer your text, write me back in 1 second flat. People getting pissed at you for not returning their calls in what they believe is a timely manner. Fuck what you feel, or what if you're sick, or if someone in your family's hurt. I mean, our country has become an I want it now, demand it now society. So in the old days, I'm thinking of Jennifer Dulos. Karen wouldn't have been able to leave all those messages. There wouldn't have been an answering machine. She would have just had to have been pissed and kept calling and calling and calling. And a lot of people behave that way when they're mad. They want instant satisfaction. They want you to answer their phone so you can yell at them and vent it out and get it over with. So for them to say that is her that she killed John because she called him and yelled at him and told him he was a bad boyfriend and swore at him. That's ridiculous. That's utterly ridiculous. Hey, Kathy Coppins. Hi. Welcome. Yeah, Sean, exactly. Remember having the operator interrupting a busy signal at times. Yeah, in an emergency back in the day, an operator could actually interrupt the busy signal and say, you need to get off the phone, your family's trying to call you. I mean, that's exactly right. That's what happened back in the day before we had all this technology. So anti-Karen Read has just been all over the board, all over the place well, since the trial started. They see it completely different than a lot of us see it. And that's what's so stunning to me. Usually in these trials, people will pick a side generally, unless there's just something so obvious, like, I'm sorry to all you Scott Peterson fans out there, but that a-hole was a sociopath, and he premeditated the murder of his own child and the mother of his child, Lacey Peterson. And I think there was a small percentage of people that believed he didn't do it compared to those who believed he did. So that's normally what you see. But in this case, it seems to be almost 50-50 split, at least on social media. That's how it appears, that you've got all of these big name people, the court TV people, and you've got what's her name? Coffendorfer, who I'm very surprised at that she has taken this stance. It makes me really wonder if she somehow knows someone in the Alberta McCabe's, or knows Morrissey, or, there's rumors swirling that her dad knew Proctor or something like that.
No, knew Morrissey.
Oh, right. There's all kinds of rumors out there about her connection, because she's gone so hard on Karen, and I would expect someone like her to take the fence and sit on the fence for a while, because in trial number 1, if I hadn't watched all the pre-stuff, I was really going to try hard to sit on the fence, because I wanted to look at it from a law enforcement perspective, and I also wanted to look at it from my social work perspective. So when you do it with both of those in mind, you have to sit on the fence for a while, because there's so much to sort through. But I had been following it for so long, and I had seen so much of the grand jury and so much in the media and so much from Aiden. And then when the Young Jerks, Mike, started covering it, I was watching his channel. I was back in his chat a lot last winter. I was done and never coming back. I mean, I don't see it. There's too many inconsistencies, a completely botched police investigation, which I believe was on purpose, because I don't believe cops botch things this badly. So I'm really of the mindset that they were involved. And so some of the Twitters today, Julie, all the anti-Karen Reads were making lists. So for Karen Read to be innocent, all these people had to be in it, and that's not possible. Well, I'm here to tell you it is. Yep. And let me bring Ed Byers back on the show with us. Hi, Ed. I know you watch sometimes. We met Ed Byers back in the fall, and I met him on Twitter X, and Ed was huge in ousting the corruption in a small county in Indiana called Clark County, Indiana. So if you're interested, anti-Karen readers, and you want to see how evil a county can be and how many people can be involved in corruption, go check out Ed Byers. He'll tell you all about it. And we live streamed with him. So go in our library and check out our corruption in Clark County, Indiana. Because if it can happen in Clark County, Indiana, it can most certainly happen in Canton and Stoughton, and as many as it takes to protect those that need to be protected, and it can happen. So their whole argument about we're putting too many people involved in a corruption ring is utterly ludicrous, because that's exactly what corruption is. It's a corruption ring. It's a whole bunch of people doing corrupt shit and getting away with it for years and years and years.
Well, one big thing from the cross yesterday, I know that I know Breenan brought it up, but was it Jackson that crossed up? I forget. Everything's such a blur because I was screaming at the TV half the time. But Jackson brought up, said, "Well, your rank is lieutenant," and I don't know if it was Breenan or whoever it was, but they went through the steps. It's like there's Chief Crashy, there's the deputy chief, and then there's lieutenant. So Lieutenant Gallagher was right. He was a lieutenant at the time. He retired since then. Has the highest salary, I guess.
Yeah.
He
what, 200,000 or something like that?
300 something. Yeah.
300.
He had, I think, at least 3-4 people above him, but everyone else in the department was either his equal or lower. and on that site, he was the officer in charge. So he was the one with the lieutenant. So if he said, I'm going to take this leaf blower and go fuck up a crime scene, if the sergeants, if the corporals, if the just regular officers, or if what did they call the Mulaney guy? He was he was an auxiliary. He was like a junior officer. I think that's what a junior officer. If any of those guys looked and said, I don't think that's a good idea, and they said, hey, I don't think that's a good idea, he would have said, guess what? Get in the snow, because I'm going to bury your career in that if you tell me what the fuck to do again. So of course they're going to sip their mouth. Like, you think they're going to say something? No, they're going to sip their mouth and say, yes, sir, and do whatever it is, and go stand there and, I don't know, shovel the berm, or, look the other way, or not go in the house, or whatever it was. So they're going to do exactly that. So I'm glad that they popped out and said, you're the officer in charge, which means that whatever you say that morning went. That's why there were only 3 pictures. That's why he said, oh, there weren't marks. But if you look at one of the pictures he took, it was obscured. But if you look at the side of the house, it's all chewed up. Now, again, I don't know where that was from, but it was all chewed up. So there were tracks. I don't know if it was I don't think it was from the area of the first responders, because first responders stayed in the area close to the fire hydrant and the flagpole where Officer John O'Keefe was. Over near the fence and everywhere else, that was all chewed up. That shouldn't have been chewed up. Why was that chewed up? Beats the fuck out of me, but it's gone now. So
yeah, exactly. So guys, throughout the night, I'm going to put up hashtags for all of the victims of homicide /MORD that we are advocating for, and their families. So if you could possibly share those out on your social medias, that would mean a lot to me and their families. Daniel Reed Smith is our newest case, which makes case 15 for Social Change Warriors right now. And we met his mom and dad a couple weeks ago. So if you go in our Social Change Warriors YouTube channel, go to the live tab and go down about 2 weeks, you'll see Daniel Reed Smith, Justice for Daniel Reed Smith. Feel free to watch then a replay or just catch a little bit of it. Or if not, just feel free to share out his hashtag. There's obviously major corruption going on in his case. The father of Daniel worked at the county that has botched his death investigation. And then they handed it off to the state police I know the name of it too now. This is South Carolina State Agency or something like that. They handed off to them because they said they didn't have the staffing or the expertise, being a small county in South Carolina, the county sheriffs that his father worked at. They ended up handing it off to the state police, who have completely botched it. No one's been arrested. It's clear by the evidence that by his autopsy, that he was run down by a car. And it's unbelievable what this family has had to go through. Similar to what Ellen Greenberg's family and Sandra Birchmore's family went through, hiring their own independent medical examiner, hiring private investigators, trying to get on any show they can get on, any live stream they can get on. They found me via Sarah Ebersol. His mother, Daniel's mother, Lisa, she follows the Sarah Ebersol case. So she's come to my live streams, and she follows Michelle Crystal Tullis's Facebook page. Michelle is her sister's advocate and is in charge of her sister's advocacy campaign. So I've been living about where is Sarah Ebersol now since last fall, and we're still in the hunt on that one. And I have a very concerning update for y'all here in a little bit as well. So I'll be putting up the hashtags, and also they'll be running along the bottom here. Bring Betty Home is a missing 67-year-old mother and grandmother in Missouri who literally disappeared off the face of the earth. She was in her home, normal day. According to her pill box, she had taken her regularly scheduled meds, and she literally disappeared. No leads, no evidence, no cameras, no nothing. So her family has been crying out for justice now for, I believe it's 6 years. And they said she didn't have an enemy in the world. So it's very disturbing that when someone just disappears and there's just no trace. It's gone without a trace. I think that's that program, right? So we are advocating for Bring Betty Home, and I'll have another live about Betty and her life and a little bit about the case and what happened, why they can't seem to find any type of evidence or any clues as to her disappearance. It's just heartbreaking. So keep an eye on those hashtags scrolling below and on the banners that I put up through the night, and help me to advocate for these wonderful humans whose lives were taken by the hands of someone else. So let me just quickly pop up here to our, let me see, that's not the one I want. I want this one. Okay, so Friday Night Lies, this is the episodes that we came up with for covering the Karen Read trial and any other trials that we decide to cover where we believe there could be witnesses lying or being evasive, or just simply, you know, trying to tell the truth maybe, but not wanting to get someone in trouble or afraid to tell the truth. So they're being evasive. It's kind of a mixed bag of everything. So I came up with Friday Night Lies as our Friday night show to go over the Karen Read trial 1 and 2 and any other trials coming forward that you guys want me to cover, because I'm happy to cover any trials that interest you, because I do believe we will always find some type of lying going on in a lot of these court cases. So tonight we're just going to go backwards a little bit and where we left off. Let me take Daniel's banner down here just for a second. And this was the meme that I created that I've been sharing out on all my social medias. So if you want to grab it or screenshot it, it's on my Twitter account and my Facebook page. You can find it. My Life Mattered is our slogan for all of our victims and their family members, because I truly believe that if they could come down and haunt the person that took their life, they would just keep saying over and over again, my life mattered. And so Karen Read's life matters as well. And yes, she is alive. John O'Keefe is dead, but her life has been changed forever by being framed and wrongfully accused of his death. So her parents, her life, her friends, everybody's in this sad, tragic case. So Social Change Warriors, again, like I said, we're an advocacy channel. If you know of anybody that needs help or needs advocacy, please send them my way. I'll put up my email address near the end like I typically do. And I'm always willing to look into the case. If it's something I don't feel I can help with or advocate for, then I will be honest with the family. But in most cases, I do believe I can. So thanks everyone for supporting us and for subscribing to our channel. We are now, actually, I'll bring it up in a minute. I think we're 10 away from 1,000. That was my goal, to get to 1,000 before June 1st, which is 2 months ahead of the original goal, because we went live at the very end of July. So my original goal was 1,000 subscribers by the end of July. So we're close. So if you can spread out the word and ask your friends to sub our channel, because then that helps the YouTube algorithm and that helps us advocate for all of our victims and their families. So again, we're discussing the Karen Read trial 1 and 2 and any other trials that'll be coming up. And we're doing a witness review on Friday nights. We order pizza, we drink Diet Coke, or some of you drink alcohol. I can't drink alcohol because it makes my neck injury worse, but I can have one. I can have one with y'all on Friday nights. But Friday nights is casual. Anybody's welcome on the platform. I can send you the green room. You can come up and tell me your bitch or your opinion on if they lied, they were evasive, or did they tell the truth. So that's what we have been doing and will continue to do on Friday Night Lies. And some of these slides I just put up randomly as we meet and we talk it out. We don't have to repeat the social psychology again tonight, but I always like to try to teach you all a little something, because I'm a teaching channel and an advocacy channel. I'm not an entertainment channel. So I always like to bring a little education, and that helps us as well with fair use, because we like to show other people's videos here and there to dissect them and talk about them. And without having an educational component, then fair use really is out the window. So that's why we are an advocacy teaching channel. Breaking news. I just wanted to share this one with you. Normally, this is our Wednesday night Angry Bitch Club, where we talk about domestic violence survivors and victims and any other cases that are just really pissing you off. In this one, Jordan Henning, ex-military, was found guilty, but only of manslaughter. And this one stunned me. And I don't know if any of you were following this trial. I haven't had time to really cover this during Friday Night Lies. I wish I would have, but we had a lot to do with Karen Read, and I just didn't feel like trying to learn a whole new trial while we're trying to cover Karen Read right now. But this one is now over. The family doesn't feel that she got justice. He shot her 5 times in front of their children, reloaded in front of their children while they were screaming and crying and running for cover. And it was all caught on the family protection camera, their surveillance camera. So I am just stunned. I don't know how in the world. They were both in the military. They met in the military. They were having domestic violence issues. He claims that she was verbally aggressive and nasty, and he had been a domestic violence victim, and that's why he snapped. And her family claims that's not true at all, that he got caught cross-dressing and sleeping with men. And when she caught him, she said she was going to divorce him. And if you all remember from my teaching on this channel, when is the most dangerous time for a woman in a domestic violence relationship? Do you remember, Julie?
Yep. When you go to leave.
Yep. When you tell them you're leaving, when you finally call them out for their crap, when you finally caught them with their hands in the cookie jar, that's when your biggest chance of being unalived yourself is going to happen, or being severely beaten. Many of the victims I've worked with in domestic violence shelters were severely beaten after they left and came back, because the husband had to teach them a lesson for leaving him and taking his children and away from him. And so she told him that she was divorcing him. She caught him with his hands in the cookie jar, sleeping with men and cross-dressing. And obviously, whatever he wants to do is his business. I don't judge him, but they were married and she had every right to not accept that for her marriage situation and to divorce him. So he lost his shit, and he killed her in front of the kids, and it's all on tape. And I don't get it. I just don't get this. He got 20 years and they're saying that he could be out in 10 with good behavior. And if he can snap like that with one woman, I can guarantee you he will snap like that again. It's possible, but he would have to get counseling while in jail. And they hardly ever offer any of that. They don't offer mental health counseling in jail, which they should, because if they're going to let these people out who have beaten their wives or murdered their wives, M-word, YouTube, then they better get some fucking counseling. Because if you don't counsel someone who has that in them to beat a woman, to be a domestic violence abuser during a marriage or a relationship, they're going to do it again. Most of our behavior that comes from the psyche, if you're not cured of what's causing your behavior, you're going to be a repeat offender. The recidivism can only not happen if you get some mental health counseling and crisis counseling. So I don't know. I feel terrible for the family. I feel terrible for this beautiful lady. So I'm going to add her. I didn't know that much about the case of the Henning. So I will tell you more about her next week on the Angry Bitch Club. But I had to mention it because I was watching it today, and I'm just kind of appalled that the jury could get it that wrong. I don't know what you guys think about that, but I am not happy about it. Okay, so just for the fun of it today, I typed in on Google, Karen Read absurdities, because I wanted to know if that picked up anything at all. So let me share this with you. I think this is Boston 10. Hello, Kim. Welcome back to Social Change Warriors, Friday Night Lies on a Wednesday. We're so glad to have you. And Kathy says, those poor kids, they had better get counseling. Oh, absolutely, Kathy. I mean, my God, they saw their father shoot their mother 5 times. I mean, it just can't get a whole lot worse than that. And they're going to need a lot of love and counseling from the grandparents or who's left. And apparently his family is taking his side and claiming he has PTSD from being in the military and that he has brain damage. And they're coming out with all kinds of excuses why he killed her the way he did. But that doesn't, it's
a lot of people have head injuries and are in the military and don't do that. So
exactly.
Just saying.
Exactly. And it is scary, and it is a shame that our soldiers are coming home so mentally disturbed. But then families, you're the front line. We don't know your soldier. We only see your soldier when he's lost his psyche and he's on the corner holding up a sign saying, I'm an injured vet, I'm a homeless vet. We don't know your person. So you know your person better than anyone. If you're seeing signs of mental illness and brain trauma after your soldier comes home from the military and they're abusing their wife or their girlfriend or their fiance, you have to get involved. You can't do the old school thing that it's between, marriage is between a man and a wife and I'm not getting involved and their fights are their fights. That's long gone. That's old school. We don't treat women that way anymore. We don't treat violence against women that way anymore. You have to take a stand and support your family members' mental health and get them into a hospital and get them a psych evaluation as soon as you see these warning signs, because these will end in violence. They will. Sometimes the women can escape actually being unalived, but most of the time not. And so, yeah, you can't defend this. You have to help out before. We have to prevent it. Domestic violence is absolutely preventable. Every social work professor I had when I took my training in domestic violence counseling, domestic violence advocacy at USC, every one of them believed that domestic violence is preventable. We just have to catch it in time, and the community and the friends and the family of these lovely people who are being abused. And it can be scary. It can be very scary to take a stand against a violent person. I understand that, because that person could unalive you. One of my friends in Colorado who I worked with was a private investigator, and I was tutoring under him and learning the trade. Went back in 2007 through 2009. And I was supposed to go to the case that day with him. I was supposed to go on this call to the house of a woman whose husband was stalking her and refusing to accept divorce papers, refusing to be served, fighting about child custody. He had been very violent in the past. And he killed my friend. And then he killed her in front of the children. And I found out about it later that day because he had sent me on another divorce decree serving, one that was more safe, as he put it, because he didn't want me going with him to this dangerous man. And he lost his life. So domestic violence abusers, they will kill other people. They will kill your parents if they're there with you. They will kill your boyfriend, your new boyfriend, or your new husband if they're there with you. When they go absolutely nuts like that, anybody could be a victim, and everyone's in harm's way. So I understand that it's scary for you to speak out against a domestic abuser, but go to your pastor, or if you're religious, go to the police, go to a domestic violence shelter and ask for help, because we have to still find a way to get women to safety where they won't be harmed when they know that it's time for them to leave, when they figured it out that it's time to go. Yeah, Kim, it is just so sad. And the scary part is, and I read these stats a couple of weeks ago, domestic violence is growing. Almost every day there is a new case, a new trial, or a trial is happening from a prior case that none of us heard about because they don't publicize all of them. So sometimes, you don't even know about a lot of the domestic violence that's going on in our country. You don't even know about how many women that actually have been M-worded and are no longer with us, because it's 3 a day in the US, 3 a day. So the media can't keep up anymore now with the unalivings of women victims, violence against women. It's really sad. So Julie, give them something that they can listen to you talk about for a minute while I sneak into the little production room here and
if you look at the private chat, I put 2 links just because I want to talk about this, because
yes, ma'am.
I know it's Friday Night Live, but it's also Angry Bitch Club, and
it is.
since last Friday, at the end of last Friday before the weekend, and then on Monday, and Kat, you and I talked about this. It seems like, and I've been saying this for about a year.
Which one do you want me to play first, Jules?
Oh, the first one, the top one,
got it.
Yeah, the MSP. Yeah,
yep.
That one.
Let me bring it up.
So for about a year, I mean, everybody, everybody shit all over Jessica Hyde. She's crazy. She's ridiculous. Look at what she has on her head. She doesn't know what the hell she's talking about, this and that. I kept saying, if you listen to her testimony, she goes through everything. She is very highly qualified, and David and Eddie crossed. And I didn't realize it was so short. I know it was like 6 questions. In 6 questions, he got her to say, hey, listen, this could have happened. You were given a specific set of parameters to look at, and you didn't get the complete data set from the actual phone. It was given to you by somebody in the Mass State Police. It was given to you by Brian Tully. And she said, yes, so this could have happened. And if this was somewhere else, then we could have been there. And I kept saying, don't belittle this woman. She is very smart. She is very bright. And she showed that today. And she is going to tell you that, yes, within her set of parameters that she was given in her controlled database that she was given, it says all the things that she had said today. And I think Alessi went too far. It seemed like they were having an autism off with like little persnickety comments.
Right.
And I kept saying,
this is the scientist, right? This is the scientist I have up first, right?
Yes, I'm going to get that in a second. So I kept saying, like, stop going after her. Well, she got on stand today. There were some issues, and I think Alessi went way too hard about some stuff, and was like, why didn't David just do it? But over the weekend, I don't know if you guys remember the blood alcohol woman. She's a chemist for the Mass State Police. She is the one who ran Karen's blood from Good Samaritan and did the data extrapolation and the data predictive modeling of her blood alcohol content. Now, again, I don't know if you, we talked about this a little bit last Friday. I said, hey, listen, we only got 5 minutes, but David went up there and was like, listen, this is what's going to happen on Monday. Right. David's going to go through and he's going to rip her apart because it was totally inappropriate, which it was. And she admitted to that. But like some of the comments were just like, oh, the stupid bitch doesn't know what hematocrit is. And that's the point that I want to see. So Kat, you can actually put this on 1.5. I just want to do a little taste of this to show.
Okay. This is the scientist first, right? We're going with the scientist.
Yeah, the scientist first. Yeah. So while she was doing this, I was listening. Now, again, I mentioned this on Friday. She and I were at did our undergrad together. She was older than I was, but she is the reason she has an undergrad.
Oh, this is the one that you know from college.
Yeah. So she has an undergrad degree in chemistry, and she mentioned this on Friday the other day. This is day 2. She has an undergrad degree in chemistry, and she also has a minor in physics. Now, she is the reason, well, part of the reason, it wasn't her directly, but she is part of the reason why I have my minor in, or equivalent of an associate's degree in physics. Wow. Because she we had a visiting professor for, I think, 2 years or like a semester and a half, and he did material sciences, material physics, which it's not like physics you think of like bombs and projectiles and stuff like that. Right. Material physics actually goes into like what happens when light beam passes through, what happens when you get different colors and wavelengths. Like it's more chemical related. And I looked at that, I was like, hey, I like that. I don't like all like the calculation like arc and everything else like the other stuff. So it's because it was her. She is very bright.
All right.
And some of the comments were, number one, like, oh, she's a stupid bitch. She doesn't know what hematocrit is. Well, she's not a biologist. But the second thing is, everyone's saying is that, well, Karen Read already admitted that she was drunk and she was shit-faced. She had all those drinks. She had, like, a tumbler like this filled with vodka. So it's ridiculous to listen to this woman. No. In this case, we're deciding whether Karen Read was drunk at scene. Did she drink a lot? Admittedly, she said that. But Mass State Police protocol says, according to what Hannah is saying, that if she gets a result, she is told, run this because this person who is in our custody, their last drink was at this time, and this is their blood from 9 hours later, figure out what the BAC was so we could charge them with OUI, and she went through. Now, is this her fault? No. It's Mass State Police protocol's fault, and that's what needs to be changed in the whole Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So if anything comes of this, it's going to be from this. Now, does she run this and does she make policy? Absolutely not. So it's not her fault. But is it germane to this case? Absolutely, because it's going to show how inappropriate it was. And that's what Hannah basically says. And I just want to show like some of the points that she was making and why this is important. Now, again, everybody's dismissing it, saying, yeah, of course, Karen was drunk. You don't know that. Karen could have had a tumbler full of vodka this big and then thrown up and not told anybody about it. The point is that it was inappropriate for Mass State Police to do this, and it's inappropriate even nowadays. I think they're still doing it to do this. So maybe change will come of this, but everybody's just kind of, poo-pooing this, and it shouldn't be. And they're also giving her a hard time because she's a woman, I think. So
this is kind of an unusual connection. I mean, here you are watching this major trial, and someone who's on the stand.
Well, I mean, yeah, we'll get into that. But yeah, like I saw the name and I was like, that name sounds so familiar. That must be, this one or this, like this, that must be this witness or that must be this witness. And I looked and I was like, that's not the one I was thinking of. Like I was thinking it was Ryan Nagel's girlfriend. It was like, that's not the one I'm thinking of. And then she said where she went to school and I was like, oh my God, I think this is her. And then I went and Googled and was like, holy shit, this is her. So and I was like, oh my God, David's going to rip her apart. And that's basically what happened. But she makes the point. I mean, it sucks that it had to happen to like this way, but
I know. Yeah. Well, I have mad respect for all the people that are willing to come on the stand and give expert testimony, because they don't have a horse in this race. And I don't believe that they
not at all. No, she is not holding water for Mass State Police. She's not up there saying, yeah, it was plumb awesome. Like the she just said, hey, listen, this is what protocol says. This is what, as head chemist, I do this and we go from there. So, and David is doing his job by saying like, hey, you can't tell, did you pee a bunch and whatever, but yeah, you can put this on fast.
All right. I've got it on 1.5. So let's take a listen to Julie's friend that she went to college with. And I will be right back, by the way. I'm going to run and get the rest of my Diet Coke.
All right, Mr. Lally, whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Could you please introduce yourself to the jury and spell your last name for the court?
Well,
Certainly.
Kat,
My name is
at
Hannah
38
Knowles. My
minutes.
last name is spelled Kwles.
And what is your occupation?
Oh, what'd you say, Jules?
38 minutes.
Oh, thanks. I thought you
Yep.
wanted to go from the beginning. Okay,
No,
gotcha.
we're good. Yep.
38 minutes. All right.
Yeah, we'll just
Going,
you just do a taste.
going.
But,
All
yeah,
right,
so
just
she
a
basically
taste.
explained like, yep, we got the numbers from Good Samaritan, we got the blood, they do it this way, we do it that way, we get it in, we run it through our computer program, which is data that comes in, and we have a result, we have a range because
Okay.
we can't pinpoint it because of people's different sizes, sex, gender, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's basically what she said with Lally.
I'll put it at 35. That's that way, and we'll
Okay,
see
yeah.
whatever she's
Yeah,
ending
David
with.
comes on at some point close.
Let's go there. There we go.
So tell everybody you're still in the room. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Giannetti.
Good morning, Ms. Mills.
Good morning.
Ma'am, on Friday, you testified to this jury about the fact that the Mass State Police Crime Lab is accredited as a forensic lab, correct?
Yes, I did.
And you discussed the fact that as a forensic chemist 4, you help to ensure compliance with the lab's administrative policies, quality assurance, and control requirements, and making sure that you're complying with accreditation standards, correct?
Yes, that's one of my job duties and responsibilities.
You also acknowledge that in contrast to the accreditation standards of your forensic lab, the standards of a hospital lab may be different, correct?
I have no direct knowledge of what the standards at a hospital are, and so I can't say whether they're the same or if they're different. I'm just
She
unfamiliar
also
with them.
gets very
And you're
verbose
unfamiliar with the
instead of
standards
just
at
saying
Good
yes or
Samaritan
no.
Hospital, correct?
So,
Correct. I have no direct knowledge of their accreditation status or requirements or body.
And you know that they were the ones to do the blood draw in this case, correct?
That's consistent with the medical records I had available for review prior to preparing my report.
And you cannot vouch for that ethanol testing, correct?
Correct. I have no direct knowledge of accuracy or reliability. My calculations are solely based on the results of the Good Samaritan lab.
For instance, you don't know how the arm was prepared when the blood was drawn?
Correct. I was not present, and I have no knowledge of the policies and procedures of blood draw at Good Samaritan Hospital
can't-
under this case specifically.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Excuse me, you can't vouch for the tubes and vials that Good Samaritan uses?
Correct. I cannot.
Are you aware that there was a recall on certain tubes and vials because there was a contamination determined by the manufacturer?
Sustained.
You can't vouch for how Good Samaritan stores, preserves, and assures the integrity of its equipment, correct?
Correct. I have no direct knowledge of those topics.
Now, excuse me, at your lab, you do both a screening test and a confirmatory test, correct?
Yes, that's accurate.
The confirmatory test is a second and separate test. You rerun the same sample again, correct?
Depending on the type of samples that are submitted and the facts of the case, we will either use the same sample that screened positive or that sample as well as another to run duplicate analysis and compare them. It depends on the materials available and the nature of the case.
Understood. So you do that to ensure that there's no error in the testing, correct?
It's part of many of the steps involved to ensure accuracy and reliability of the results that are reported.
And you realize that when you're doing this testing, because you're a forensic lab, you may ultimately be testifying in court. You want to make sure you get it right, correct?
Yes,
And the confirmatory test acts as a fail-safe against false positives, for example.
correct. The screening and the confirmatory test are typically using different methodologies or different techniques to ensure that a false positive under one technique would not have similar issues with the confirmatory technique.
Okay. In this case, your lab did not do any confirmatory testing, correct?
My lab did not have samples submitted for this individual to perform testing on.
You know of no confirmatory testing that was done by Good Samaritan, correct?
I don't know what their policies and procedures are and if the results
Just
on the
say
report
no.
were the results
Just
of
say no.
confirmatory testing or otherwise.
You just have to assume the accuracy of the testing that they did do, correct?
I
Yes.
use the results that were reported on the medical records provided to perform calculations.
And you cannot testify that the testing done at Good Samaritan meets your accreditation standards, correct?
Correct.
Now, your lab does whole blood testing, does it not?
If whole blood is submitted for a case, then we will test whole blood. If serum or plasma is the only available sample appropriate for testing, then we will proceed with testing on serum or plasma.
Whole blood testing leads to more accurate readings of the percentage of alcohol in somebody's blood, correct?
Correct. If you would like to know the percentage of alcohol in someone's blood, the best sample to test would be their blood.
And you've learned through your training and experience that many hospitals, including Good Samaritan, use a different method of testing than whole blood testing, correct?
Yes.
Good Samaritan uses serum or plasma testing as opposed to whole blood testing.
I'm not familiar with their specific technique or methodology. I haven't undergone training for their methods, but it is my understanding that the type of sample used for their method is serum or plasma.
Now, whole blood includes plasma, but it also includes white blood cells, platelets, and red blood cells, correct?
Correct. Typically, we describe serum or plasma as the liquid portion of blood, and the other cellular components that you described typically are removed or separated before testing.
Plasma has a higher water content than red blood cells, white blood cells, or platelets, right?
Yes, it is.
Alcohol is highly soluble in water, is it not?
Yes.
So alcohol has a better affinity with water. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
That means that alcohol prefers to distribute into the more watery components of blood, correct?
Yes.
Yes, that's accurate. And
And that also means that alcohol is found in higher concentrations in serum and plasma testing than in whole blood testing,
Yeah.
correct?
That's correct. That difference in water content is the basis of the serum conversion that I described on Friday.
Okay. So a lab like Good Samaritans, that in this case did serum or plasma testing, will therefore provide results of blood alcohol concentration that are higher than what the true blood alcohol concentrations are, correct?
The serum alcohol or plasma alcohol concentrations that they report on their medical records would be higher than the corresponding blood alcohol concentration. That's correct.
So to translate the Good Samaritan results into a more accurate reading of blood alcohol content, you need to convert the serum and plasma results to what those results would be in whole blood testing, correct?
Hello.
Yes. Yes.
Can you answer that, stated?
Yes. The accuracy of the value isn't changed by the reading. It's a different value. It's a serum or plasma alcohol concentration versus an estimated blood alcohol concentration. So if it is helpful or relevant to know what the whole blood analysis would have been if the testing had been performed on whole blood, then that conversion, starting with the serum alcohol or plasma alcohol concentration, is helpful to do.
But to calculate a precise conversion rate, you first need to know precisely the amount of water in somebody's blood, correct?
The
Not necessarily.
range of serum factors or serum conversion factors that are used in the preparation of my report and the calculations that I performed accounts for total body water variation from individual to individual. The reason I use between 13 and 19% and not just one single value is because I don't know the specific conversion factor that would be appropriate for an individual when I have medical records to review.
I think that was a long way of saying yes to my question, right? My question was to calculate a precise conversion rate for somebody, you'd first need to precisely know the amount of water in that person's blood, correct?
Sustained. Ask it differently, Mr. Unity.
Is it scientifically possible to predict with accuracy a precise conversion rate for one individual person?
Yes.
Everybody has a different amount of water in his or her blood, correct?
There is a normal variation between individuals.
I'm sorry. I'm going to do my best to ask yes or no questions, and then if there's an explanation, Mr. Lally can stand up afterward and have you explain. But
So
this will go
no-
more quickly.
No comments. Just go ahead and ask a question.
Sure. Everybody has a different amount of water in his or her blood, correct?
Yes.
And there are a number of factors that influence the amount of water in somebody's blood, correct?
Yes.
What is hematocrit?
I don't know.
Can
Hematocrit
you
is the
pause for a
percentage of
second?
red blood cells in whole blood
Yes.
cells. Do you know that?
Sustained.
Are you aware that individual hematocrit can vary?
Okay, we're good. Okay. All right. So right there, David Dinetti asked, he's going into and saying, and again, David's doing his job where he's basically saying like, hey, you can't get specific, that's why there's a broad range because there's metabolism, there's water. He's going to go in and saying like, well, do you pee a whole bunch? Do you know if food factors in or whatever this is? Her job and her job title is, I think it's Senior Chemist 4, which means she is a chemist.
Right.
She's not a biologist. She is a chemist. She looks at the chemicals, which is ethanol, in the blood, and manages to run high pressure liquid chromatography or mass spec or however it is that they pull samples when they get samples. In this case, they didn't get samples; they got a result. She takes the results and she puts it into a data set in a mathematical model and extrapolates from there. Now, what he's going to ask her a series of like 5 or 6 questions, and she's just going to shake her head and say, I don't know. What she should have said was, I am not a biologist. And that's the correct answer. She is a chemist. She is not a biologist. The important part of this is saying that when he talks about the mathematical model, I think it comes up in like 2 or 3 minutes, then we'll switch. She is saying, I don't know when the last drink was, and basically confirming what is going on by saying, when I got this result from whoever came in, the detective, I don't know if it was Proctor, whoever it was, saying, hey, we have this result, do an extrapolation and do a mathematical model prediction of a range of what the value is. He is basically saying, but you don't know if she was in custody, if she went home and drank. And basically, and I think this is what the defense is going to do with all of Karen's statements out of court. Like, yeah, I drank 16 vodkas and hit him. Who cares?
Right.
I think they're going to turn around and say she was so blind drunk and she went home and drank because clearly she loves alcohol. So, and that's what I think happened too. I think she went home and drank, but they're basically going to say, and Hannah's going to confirm it, that they don't know if she had a drink. And again, that's what he's supposed to do. But just going through, it's Mass State Police policy that this is done with the assumption that that they're in custody or whatever the case may be, that a trooper took the blood instead of the hospital. If a hospital took the blood, you can, make adjustments.
Right.
But in this case, totally inappropriate. And that's basically what she's going to say. So, but I just want to say she's not a biologist. And the questions that he is asking her are very biology dependent. Now, you could ask a biologist about all these, and that's probably what she should have said. Instead, she kept saying, "I don't know," and she's
Mhm.
getting a lot of heat for it online. So I just want to clarify and stick up for a fellow alum.
That's
Um,
good that you're
He
doing that.
is
though.
a chemist,
She's a chemist.
not a
right?
biologist. So
Well,
that's
I
the
just want to
issue.
add, I looked
This
forward
is
to her.
important testimony because this helps Karen too, and it also
Right.
helps people in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
For any of this. So
I just want to add that I was looking forward to her testimony because when I was a police officer, I started a program for teenagers that I named Tough Choices. And I was presenting it in person back in the day. This was all before any kind of YouTuber doing any kind of live streaming was even possible. So I did everything in person. And I went out to many high schools in the state of Wisconsin and a couple actually in Illinois and gave a talk. It was I framed it at 50 minutes because most high school classes are 50 minutes. And I taught the kids about alcohol because sadly, most parents don't really teach their kids. They may say, don't drink till you're 18 or 19 or 21 or whatever your legal limit was then or is now in your state. Most parents are going to tell you what not to do, but they're not going to tell you why not to do it because it just doesn't seem to be how things are with alcohol. Alcohol is just so widely accepted in our society. And the thing about alcohol is that it affects people different ways. And I was able to do a lot of research and met with a lot of different people before I built this 50-minute presentation to the high school kids. And I got great feedback from the kids. I thought at first maybe I was going to get booed off the stage or they'd all fall asleep or they'd be talking, but they were interested in learning about what actually is alcohol, that it is a poison and what it does to our bodies. And especially the girls would come up afterwards and say to me, I didn't know that, girls get drunk faster than boys. I didn't know that. And I didn't know it was more dangerous for girls to drink. And so all of the research I did via chemists and biologists and doctors. And one of the things a lot of people just don't
elimination
realize
rates, she talks about this too.
yeah, your metabolism has so much to do with how much you can have on board and what you can tolerate versus how fast you metabolize alcohol and how quickly your BAC can rise. And for women, especially women as we age, we can become alcohol dependent much easier and faster than men. And then our organs don't hold up to this very good. So if you know somebody like you're in your age that passed away from alcoholism who was a woman, it's because of that simple fact that as women grow older and go through menopause, we no longer can really tolerate alcohol anymore. Our livers are not able to stand up to it. And it causes women to die of heart failure, kidney failure, liver failure. It can be very dangerous. And the thing that's hard for people to fathom is that most medical people and science people who know about what alcohol does to the body recommend that for women, they drink no more than 1 drink a day. That's it. If you're a binge drinker and you like to just go out and hammer it on the weekends, you're doing some damage to yourself. And I've always wondered why more people don't self-educate and self-teach themselves. That everyone just thinks alcohol's like, and I know Diet Coke's not good for me, but I only drink it once a week. Okay, guys. But so I'm not preaching to the choir, but I know I try to drink my iced tea and water and stay away from Diet Coke, but once a week, I like the taste of it. I drink it. And if that's the case with alcohol, then you're okay too, if you're just doing 1 or 2 drinks a week. But you really have to be careful, ladies, once you get into that age group of 50 and over, because your body does not want you to drink anymore. It really doesn't. And I may do a live stream about that one of these days, because I still don't think a lot of people understand what happens when alcohol enters our body and what are the factors that make us, our ability to detox it. But it does take, this is proven science, it does take 1 hour for, on average, women a little bit can take longer, men faster, but it usually takes 1 hour on average for our bodies to detox 1 shot. So if you have a rum and Coke, like Karen was drinking and she was adding a shot to the one they gave her, let's just say they were making her drinks weak. They still had to be putting some alcohol in them. So she was definitely at least getting a half a shot, right? Then she's buying a shot or someone else is buying her a shot and she's adding it. So now she's got a shot and a half in her drink. For a woman of her size, and she's in her 40s, so of her age, that's going to be an hour, just approximately an hour, for give or take, for her body to detox that 1.5 shots of alcohol. So if she's pounding those drinks over the course of just 2-3 hours, do the math. She's still going to have a high BAC at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. That's the science of drinking and your body. So that's my 2 cents worth. Let's go back to your actual chemist, because I ain't no chemist.
And that it affects the water content in blood?
Sustained.
Would somebody's age be a factor in determining the amount of water in their blood?
Whoops.
I don't know.
Sorry, guys. I
Would
got to put
somebody's
it back
gender
up.
affect the amount of water in their blood?
Yes.
Could when somebody had eaten and what somebody had eaten before the blood was drawn affect the amount of water in their blood?
It's possible, but I'm not aware of those factors being considered when performing total body water calculations.
Would how frequently a person uses the restroom affect the amount of water in their blood?
As it would relate to their state of hydration, it's possible, but again, I'm not familiar with performing precise calculations on individuals. It's not a routine part of my job, and it's not in the scope of my expertise.
Go right there.
Some medications.
Did you say
potentially affect
pause?
The amount
No,
of water
no,
in somebody's blood.
no, you're good. You're good.
It's possible, yes.
And conversion factors vary significantly between individuals, but they can also vary within the same individual over time, can they not?
I believe so, yes.
And all of the factors that we've discussed that you've adopted can impact the conversion factor that is used, correct?
Yes,
And there is no one universally agreed upon conversion factor, correct?
correct. There is a range that is agreed upon, but not a singular conversion factor.
Right. And the range that you used was 1.13 to 1.19, correct?
Yes,
You recognize, however, that with all the factors affecting the amount of water in somebody's blood from person to person, and even within one person over time, some people can fall outside the range that you used, correct?
yes,
And you recognize that some studies have shown a conversion rate from serum to whole blood can be higher than 1.19, correct?
yes,
Are you aware of a study by Rainey, R-A-I-N-E-Y, reporting conversion rates as high as 1.59?
yes,
And if the conversion rate is higher, that would mean that the actual blood alcohol concentration would be lower, correct?
yes,
So if you're using a range of conversion factors that does not capture what the conversion factor should be for the individual that you're testing, you can't have confidence in the result, correct?
correct. The range that is utilized is looking at studies of large groups of people to try to capture as accurately as possible most individuals in the population, but it would not cover 100% of scenarios with all the factors that you've described.
Okay, and you'd agree that your conversion of serum to whole blood here is imprecise, correct?
The conversion was performed within the policies and procedures of the laboratory and the best practice recommendations for my field.
But it is imprecise.
Can you repeat the question?
Let's move on. The conversion from serum to whole blood
That one
did not
didn't
end
go
the calculations
too
that
well.
you needed to do in order to testify here today, correct?
Correct.
The conversion from serum to whole blood only translated what Ms. Reed's blood alcohol supposedly would have been, or was, I'm sorry, at the hospital at 9:08 a.m. on January 29th of 2022, correct?
Yes,
You were asked to try to find out what her blood alcohol level would have been 7 or 8 hours earlier, closer to midnight or sometime between midnight
All right, listen to
and
this.
1 a.m., correct?
the time utilized for my calculations was 12:45 a.m.
So you started with the results that you obtained from your serum to whole blood conversion, right?
Yes,
Which was an imprecise calculation,
which was intending to cover the majority of population.
or was it
and
imprecise?
It
Good
followed
answer.
the policies and
Good
procedures of my
answer.
What
laboratory.
was the precise number then? Was there a precise number or was it imprecise?
Come on, David.
The range,
I'm not talking about a range. I know that you'd like to say that. Was there a precise number, ma'am?
the results of my report was not a single number. It is a range of numbers.
Let's move on, Ms. Gina.
Yes. Then once you get that range,
I know he has to do
you have to
this.
do an extrapolation on top of that to figure out what the blood alcohol concentration would have been at 12:45, 7 or 8 hours earlier, correct?
Yes,
But in order to do that extrapolation, you need to make assumptions about things that you do not know, correct?
yes,
Listen,
In
listen.
terms of processing alcohol, there is an absorption phase, a plateau, and an elimination phase, correct?
yes, that's accurate and consistent with my understanding.
And during the absorption phase, blood alcohol concentration can be rising, correct?
Yes,
And to determine whether somebody is in the absorption phase or the elimination phase, you need to know when their last drink was, correct?
Yes, just say yes.
yes. If you're performing that type of calculation, or if you're trying to determine if they've reached their maximum, that would be helpful information to have.
The longer the time between the last drink and the test, the more variability and potential for error there is in the extrapolation, correct?
Yes.
Can you ask the question again, please?
In this case, you assumed that Ms. Reed's last drink was at 12:45 a.m., correct?
Yes.
No, the calculation assumed for the maximum calculation that no alcohol had been consumed between 1.5 and 2 hours prior to that time interval start at 12:45 a.m.
Okay. And the test wasn't until 9:08 a.m.?
Yes,
The range that you came up with was 0.14 to 0.28%, correct?
Yes.
yes, 0.14 to 0.28 grams percent.
And that was a very wide range, was it not?
It certainly is.
0.28 is double 0.14?
Yep.
And that range is so wide Because there are a lot of unknowns about the way each person individually processes alcohol, correct?
There's a lot of interpersonal differences. That's correct.
There are a lot of different factors that would impact somebody's blood alcohol content, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
What somebody had to eat can impact their blood alcohol concentration, correct?
The
Yes. Say
contents of their
yes.
stomach or what they had eaten recently does not impact the rates of elimination that I use for my calculation, but it can factor into the absorption part of the curve and can impact that maximum amount that's reached.
Okay.
Yep.
Their body weight.
See, she's
can
doing the
impact their blood
chemical
alcohol
part
concentration,
component of
correct?
this.
Right.
Correct. Again, it would not necessarily, or it could be included in the rate of elimination range that I use for my calculations. The person's body weight has more to do with, again, the absorption, the maximum concentration, the first parts of the curve, and not the elimination portion that we're discussing when we're doing retrograde extrapolation.
And the first word of your answer was correct, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
A person's metabolic rate can impact their blood alcohol concentration because different people metabolize alcohol at different rates, correct?
Yes.
In addition, regarding the timing of the last drink, you were not with Ms. Reed on the late evening of January 28th or the early morning of January 29th of 2022, correct?
Correct. I was not.
You have no personal knowledge of when Ms. Reed had her last drink, correct?
Correct.
Were you informed that Ms. Reed was upset after 12:45 a.m. when you were doing these calculations?
I don't believe so.
Were you informed that she went to John O'Keefe's house in Canton and was the only adult in the house at that time after 12:45?
Excuse me.
Are you aware?
I just wanted to say something really quick to you guys. I pulled up my old presentation and there was some things in there that I had taught the kids, which they were always so surprised about. But food in the stomach actually delays the movement of alcohol into your small intestine. And that's where most of the absorption of alcohol occurs, is in your small intestine. So that's, people say things all the time like, oh, you should eat or you should eat. Well, but they don't tell you why, because they don't know. Most people don't know the science of why eating helps. They just know it helps, or they've experienced that it helps them, right? And so that's why. It's because if you do have something in your stomach, then that movement of alcohol to your small intestine will be more delayed, and then that helps you not to be so drunk so quick, right? So something else I taught the kids, which they were always had a million questions about, is something called reduced peak blood alcohol level, and that has to do with by slowing the absorption of the alcohol. So eating helps to keep the blood alcohol levels shorter for a shorter period of time, which overall is better for all of your organs, if that makes sense. And oddly enough, there's a potential for less of a hangover too. That not everybody gets hangovers. It has to do with that enzyme that's in your liver. So some people have enough of the enzyme where they don't ever experience a hangover, and others not so much. And then they'll get the headache, the fatigue, the nausea, your common hangover symptoms. So that was my 2 cents worth from my research.
Aware of what type of alcohol John O'Keefe had available in his house at that time?
Excuse me.
Were you aware that she was waiting for John O'Keefe to come home, but he never did?
Excuse me.
Do you have any personal knowledge of whether Ms. Reed poured herself a drink during the hours of 12:45 a.m. and 6 a.m. on January 29th of 2022?
No, I do not.
And do you know whether she had more than one drink during those hours?
No, I do not.
Assume that Ms. Reed did have something alcoholic to drink after 12:45 a.m. Would that affect your assumptions about whether she was in the absorption or the elimination phase?
Yes, it would.
And if you did have something to drink after 12:45 a.m., what would that do to your calculations?
The foundation of my calculations would be incorrect. I would need to perform different calculations or factor in the information as it would become available and issue a different report.
Okay. So if your assumption of when she had her last drink was incorrect, you would not have confidence that your conclusions about which you testified Friday and today are accurate, correct?
Correct. There is some parts of the calculation.
There you go. She just said it.
intended to accommodate for unknown drinking
Yep.
history, but with over 8 hour time span between the time of interest and the time that the blood sample was collected, that adjustment in the calculation intending to avoid overshooting the blood alcohol concentration
There you go.
may or may not be used to address that. And if new, more accurate information was available, then I would need to incorporate that in the discussion and calculations.
Right. So in answer to my question, if your assumption about when the last drink was consumed was incorrect, you would not have confidence that your conclusions are accurate today.
Correct.
Now, were you ever asked to determine the blood alcohol level of Brian Albert?
Oh,
No.
yeah, okay. And then they asked about all the other drunk assholes. So,
Were you asked
okay.
to determine the
All
blood
right, yeah,
alcohol
this
level
is
of
good.
anyone
Good job.
except for Karen Reed in this case?
I'll allow that.
To the best of my knowledge, my only involvement with this case in my unit was a request to perform these calculations on this individual.
Thank you.
Hi,
Yeah, and that's
Lally.
it. Okay, that's it. And then Lally gets up and says, "Oh,
Okay.
what this?" Yeah.
All righty. Thanks. Thanks for having that queued up for me. I appreciate it. I actually enjoyed the science of her testimony. I thought she was really wicked smart, as you say in Boston.
She's wicked smart. Yeah, this is very, very important. And I mean, anybody in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, I mean, again, number one, don't drive drunk. Don't, bus driving is still drunk driving. Don't drive drunk. Get a designated driver, get an Uber or something. If you're, and this is another thing that people don't realize, if you have a designated driver and your designated driver starts to drink and has too much, just get an Uber. Get an Uber for everybody. You can't, never be too safe. But if for whatever reason, if you're, out and you haven't been drinking and you get pulled over by Mass State Police and they make you do a sobriety test, and like, for example, me, I have issues with balance because I have MS, and if I happen to topple over and they, do a field sobriety test or whatever the case is, and they say, well, we're going to do this and we're going to extrapolate based on whatever, get a lawyer and do exactly this, because they are applying this to what or my feelings is that they are applying this to, again, from what I see from research and everything else, from inappropriate circumstances. And that's basically what Hannah just said too. Now, again, this is not her, protocol and policy. This is Massachusetts State Police. So again, if you're in Massachusetts and something like this happens, get a lawyer and challenge it, because this should be the case. I mean, unless you're in custody and a trooper draws your blood, then you might not have a chance. But everywhere else, you might have a shot at getting an override. But just don't be like these assholes and drive drunk all over the place. Just don't do it.
Right. Just don't do it. Take a cab. Just if you know you're going to drink, it's like not rocket science. I know I'm going to drink, so I'm gonna phone a friend right now and see if they want to be the designated driver. Or in my case, most of my friends were lucky, because I do not have the constitution for alcohol. So even when I was young, if I drank more than 3 drinks, I was physically ill. And then the next day I was so hungover and sick. So I learned pretty quick that I don't want to feel like that. So as hard as it was being young and not being able to keep up with the Joneses when it came to being out and at clubs and dances and going to concerts and everybody's getting drunk, I couldn't get drunk because my body wouldn't allow it. It's just in my family's chemistry, because my mom can't drink. My sons don't drink. I mean, we all drink. Like, we have a beer, or we'll have a glass of wine, or I'll have a pina colada. We can drink, but we can't drink very much. So in that case, sometimes it's not worth it to even drink one, because sometimes if I'm having a bad day, even if I drink 1 beer or 1 glass of wine, I get a weird headache. And then due to my neck injury and all my central nervous system damage, that alcohol goes right to my central nervous system. And I've been out with friends where they'll see me rubbing my neck extra long, because just that little bit of alcohol on that given day just went right into my nerves. And then my neck hurts worse and everything feels horrible. So it's just, for people like me, it's really not worth it to drink at all. But every once in a while, I crave a pina colada when I'm in Florida, at my house in Florida, or I'll crave a Corona, because that's my beer. And everybody else I'm with is having a beer, and we're watching games and we're watching sports, and I want to be part of the group, right? I actually, guys, this is Wednesday night, Angry Bitch Club. So we go in and out of Karen Reed tonight, guys. This is, and MCAT's here. Oh my God. Yes. MCAT's here. And we have our newest member of the Social Change Warriors, Kim Sergenian. This is a great night. MCAT is our Friday Night Lies, Karen Reed extraordinaire. She comes prepared with lots of good comments in our live chat on Friday night. So we're so happy you made it to an Angry Bitch Club. And so with that in mind, I just want to say something off Karen Reed topic for a minute. For all of you out there that have an invisible injury like I do. I hurt, most of you know this, but I'll just say it for all of you that don't. I hurt myself when I was a police officer. I was in a fight, for lack of a better way to put it. I mean, police don't get in fights, but I had to fight with this man because he would not listen to me and I had no options. He was in a library. He was threatening other women in the library, and my partner and I literally had to fight with him to get him in handcuffs. He was out of control, drunk, high on some kind of drug. I don't remember what it was. It was a long time ago for me now, but I managed to rupture discs in my neck, and I had to have surgery, and there was a bone spur, and workers' comp, in their wisdom, said that they would not give me surgery until I went through physical therapy for 6 months. So I was forced into 6 months of painful physical therapy because there was a bone spur pushing on my nerve root where my disc had ruptured. And
Mm.
when I was in so much pain, I couldn't even do light duty anymore. That's when they finally listened to my doctors and gave me the go ahead to have surgery. But it was too late. The damage had already been done. And about 4 years later, after I went back on duty, I had to leave the police force because my body was damaged. And I still deal with the damage in my neck every day, but I've learned how to manage it. And pain management is huge. You have to be positive. You have to think positively. You can't expect other people to understand your story because when you look at me, I don't look damaged, but I'm damaged. Okay. I can tell you that much. And I'm even extra damaged today. For all of you that have ever had sciatica, you have my deepest condolences. I stupidly lifted my suitcase out of my car, the one I wasn't going to bring into my mom and sister's place. And I shouldn't have brought it in because I really didn't need it. And I stupidly usually never do things like that because that really aggravates my neck muscles and my shoulder pain. So I typically am very smart about what I lift and don't lift, but I was just not thinking very well that day. And I went ahead and lifted the suitcase out anyway. And my L5 sciatica S1 is insanely painful. I've been 3 days now, 4 days where I have to use my mom's walker. I can't put hardly any weight on my right leg. The pain is going down my right leg into my ankle. 4 of my toes are numb. I've done something to myself. So tomorrow,
That's not fun.
yeah,
Jesus.
and no. So I've never had sciatica, and I've heard of it. I've had friends who have had it, and they've told me how horrible it is. My own sister has had it. Now I truly have empathy for you. It is like labor pains in my back, shooting down my leg into my foot. That's what it feels like. I've never been in this much pain, not even with this neck injury.
You gotta stretch your glutes.
I've been doing the stretching. I've been doing all the sciatica stretches the last 4 days, but nothing's helping. And I'm taking ibuprofen, and I even took a muscle relaxer, and I hate those things because they make me groggy. So I don't like being groggy, but I did it. I took a muscle relaxer, and guys, nothing's working. So I have an appointment at 9 a.m. to find out what the hey I have done to my L5 S1 because it is in bad shape. I'm actually sitting on my mother's walker right now. So I'm going to take a 5-minute stretch break for this bad back and for my knee and for my neck, for all the parts of my head, shoulders, knees, and toes that are hating me. And so I'm going to play you our Wednesday night Angry Bitch Club theme song. For those of you that normally come on Thursdays and Fridays, I play the Calling Out Corruption theme song. It's the same song, but it's got a little bit of a different tune. The Wednesday night is a different tune, and there's a few different photos. So I'm going to play that for you all while we take our short 5-minute stretch break. And Julie and I will be right back with Jessica Hyde. And I have to say, let me go back to Kathy's comment. I'm going to tell you guys, and this won't be very popular amongst free Karen readers. I know that, but I'm a free Karen reader. But I respect science, and I respect the experts that are willing to come on here. And obviously, they're getting paid, so it's not about just being willing. It's about they get money to do this, right? So, first of all, Kim says, this is my first time listening to the trial. Kathy C. filled me in on it last summer. All the adults involved in this did a lot of drinking. Nothing good happens after midnight. Yes, Kim.
Not wrong. Yeah, she's not wrong.
She's not wrong, and you're not wrong, Kim. And yes, I'm so glad Kathy brought you into the fold. I brought Kathy into the fold prior to that. Kathy and I share a lot of things that we like to talk about, movies and books and crime shows. And I just happened to say one day, have you heard about this Karen Read trial? And she said, no. And I told her about it, and then she is in heavy now, and Kara might be joining us here in a little bit. We got Kara in heavy into the Karen Read trial now, so we've been recruiting free Karen readers all over the place. So Kathy says, one thing I can say for Hyde today is that she is very passionate about her work and animated in her explanations. She continued to turn toward the jurors when she responded as well. Yeah, I agree, Kathy. I honestly thought Jessica Hyde did way better this year than she did last year. She was kind of less animated and less kind of silly. Last year, she was kind of silly at times, which gave Jimmy, the parody king, the Auntie Deb, a lot of material for Jessica Hyde. But his parody of her is unbelievable, and I'm going to have to bring that up fair use, Jimmy. I'm going to bring up your parody of Jessica Hyde. But I thought she was way more controlled with her, because she does have a kind of a cute, silly personality, but she's also a scientist. So I find her intriguing, to be honest with you, and I like her. So I wish she was the witness for the defense. I wish she had.
She kind of was. I mean, today
Yeah.
and in the 5 minutes that I pulled up from David last year. And
Yeah.
I don't know why David didn't do the cross this year, and they had Alessi, because Alessi, like, it seemed like they had like an autism off or something. Like they went like way into the weeds. But
I actually thought the two of them together was super entertaining. I thought they were almost in like a dance of
tennis
romance.
match over like small little small little like pig and knits. Like,
But
no,
I
it's
kind of felt
no,
some
it's
like
good.
sexual tension there a little bit. I don't know. I thought they were like
it was too much.
flirting.
Today was crazy. However, she was an excellent witness for the defense, but I hope that the jury, I mean, Sue O'Connell and Christina Rex were reporting for the jury that the jury was like yawning. They had their head into their hands, like, what are we going to do? And then when Alessi got up, they were going back and forth like a tennis match. But right at the beginning, she said right off the bat this time, she didn't say it last time. David had to kind of pull it out of her last year. That's what we're going to see. Right off the bat, she said, I was given a data set from Mass State Police. I didn't get the actual phone, and I was given a set of parameters to look at. I didn't go beyond this. And she kept saying that a couple times to Alessi, but I don't know if people saw it, because people got bored. There was the stuff with Alessi before she got in saying that, I'm going to impeach her on this. And, you're going to, are you going to dehumanize her? Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? It's just ridiculous. So like they went back and forth, but she was a good witness, because she said, hey, listen, all this shit happened and we don't know what. And it could have happened, but I was given this, and I'm basing this just on what I was looking at. And so, like, if you tease it out and you say, so this could have been here because you didn't look at the full extraction, you just looked at the data set that was given to you by Mass State Police Lieutenant Tully or whoever gave it to Garino or somebody.
Yeah.
And she basically said, like, yes, and it was qualified. And she kept qualifying and saying, like, I'm under the assumption that bing, bang, bong, boom. And so... yeah, I just hope that the jury got that. But like, again, online, like fucking Turtle with his like, she's an idiot. She's not. She's a fake witness. She's this. She's that. Like, no. She is a bright woman.
Yeah,
she does her thing.
Yeah,
better like, oh my God, leaps and bounds over Ian Whiffen. Ian Whiffen with his like, I don't know if it was cold. Who gives a shit? Put it in there and go read the temperature. Yeah, we'll put in fucking kelvins or some measurement that I made up because I don't know what Fahrenheit is.
Right.
What was that? So.
And experts don't get it right all the time either, because nobody gets it right all the time. So there's going to be something you can pull out of the weeds about something an expert did or said, or another trial they might have testified in, because they're not always going to be exactly right. And some of it can lean more to their, like Whiffen kept saying it, my opinion. Some of it can lean towards their opinion at times too. Shauna says, I thought she was good too. Just noticed her chemistry was better with Lally. There was a question HB asked and she corrected him. Oh yeah, that's right. That's right, Shauna. She corrected everybody a couple times.
Everybody.
She corrected everybody. She was on it though. I actually really like her. So
but today with Breenan on the redirect, when she said like, the first time you got this was 2 years ago, and she said, yes, I remember the date. It was May 2023. She said it was actually May the 4th, 2023, because she said, May the 4th be with you, and then cracked herself up, and it was adorable. It was absolutely adorable.
Kim says, I'm not sure I want to drive in Massachusetts sober. Well, I don't know what would be better, Kim, driving drunk or sober. I mean, your odds of driving drunk and not getting pulled over look to be pretty good, actually. If there's one state you can take a risk and do it from your bar to your hotel, it might just be Massachusetts. Hashtag Canton Dirty Tops. Hashtag Stoughton Dirty Cops.
Something.
Okay, now we're taking our 5-minute stretch break. We will be right back with more, and I'll pull Jessica Hyde up real quick on the break, and I'm going to put on our Wednesday night Angry Bitch Club theme in honor of all victims of domestic violence and their families.
They try to silence the truth we shout, but we're still here, we're still calling out. Corruption hides behind a badge and name. for every voice lost in the night. My life mattered is the cry we sing for the ones they try to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run or hide. The stories echo, the pain runs deep. For stolen lives, we can't just weep. Elected power, but their hearts are cold. We'll bring the truth, let it be told. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life matters is the cry we sing for the ones they try to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run or hide. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight. In open wounds, undo the harm. Calling out corruption, we'll stand tall. For justice and truth, we'll risk it all. My life matters is the cry we sing. Together we rise, let freedom ring.
Don't understand why I can't flip this around, but okay.
Hey, Julie,
Yep.
that link you sent me for Jessica Hyde.
Yep.
Hang on, I'm gonna see if I couldn't find it at first. It didn't. Oh, there it is. I got it. Yeah,
Not
I got
working?
it.
You got, yeah, it's in the private chat on the side.
Oh shoot! I see what just happened. It keeps.
Right
There it is.
there. Right, you see that? Okay.
There we go. Okay, I got it now. Now I just got to go back and I'll be right back. I'm just gonna get my Tylenol.
Okay. Inside for 2 minutes. About 2.5 minutes. Okay. Quiet, Julie. Okay. Don't understand why I can't put. I'm doing. Now. All right, quiet. Okay. Okay. Quiet, Julie.
Okay, I'm just gonna catch up to the chat box here just for a second. So let's see here. Let me go back. We go back. I was here for crazy, but now I'll be angry. Okay.
We're
Yeah.
gonna do crazy too. Don't worry.
Okay, so this is funny, Kat. We had the Broken Baker on as a guest way back when, and then there was this whole thing. Me and Miss Shorty got into it over her being a lying bitch. Sorry, guys, but I'm done being nice about it, and I'll say what I want to say. But Broken Baker was great, and he and I had a great conversation. And he was going to come back on. I was going to go on his show, and then unfortunately, the Miss Shorty thing went down, and he apparently sided with her because I've never heard from him again. But I enjoyed him. I think he's pretty wicked smart. And he jokingly said to me that instead of it being the Angry Bitch Club, he said we should be called the Crazy Bitch Club. And I said, oh, no. I said, we're not going to infer that women, just because women get mad about something and we stand up for our rights, that we're crazy. So we all ixnayed. Oh, hi, good morning. You woke up. Come here. So we ixnayed him on that. And so then he said, well, how about the angry bees? And he said, you could have bees buzzing around. So that's when we picked up the bee that I put on most of our slides. And we call ourselves the Angry Bees on Wednesdays now. And that was thanks to Broken Baker being a little bit inappropriate. I mean, I didn't care for it that he went there with the whole Crazy Bitch Club thing, because that's what misogynistic domestic violence abusers like to say, that when we try to stand up for ourselves, and they accuse us of being crazy. And
that's why I got my name from. I got my name from trying to tell the truth about something that very clearly happened, that I had evidence of, and everybody saying, "Oh, you're just crazy. That didn't happen. That didn't," and gasfish me. So,
right,
like, you want me to be the craziest person on earth? Now watch this. And
right. And I was just about to ask you how you gave yourself that name, the craziest person on earth, because we know you're being
funny.
funny.
The craziest person on earth. Here we go.
Right. I knew you were being funny,
and that's my email and everything else. Craziest person on earth.
And none of us don't feel that way about you at all. So that I knew that was a play on words for you.
Well,
but I was not gonna allow that. I said, I don't allow that. We're not crazy. We're just mad. We're angry. We're pissed off at government and dirty cops. And we're sick of women getting beaten to death and killed, and government not standing for us, and laws not protecting us, and restraining orders are useless. And it's just on and on and on. So that's why I created the Angry Bitch Club, so we could have a Wednesday night right in the middle of the week to air our grievances, say what we want to say, swear if we want to swear. And MCAT, that's how the Angry Bitch Club was born. It was originally born way back in the 90s when I was doing my internship at an oldie station. I was doing the news and the sports at an oldie station in Madison. And I jokingly said to one of the producers, gosh, I wish I could stay on and have my own bitch session, have my own radio show for like a half an hour, and just let women come on and bitch about how they're underpaid and overworked, and stay-at-home moms get disrespected, and women who work and our moms get disrespected, and just have a night where women could come on my show, because that was when Delilah was really popular. And I liked her. Yeah, I used to listen to her when I worked night shift. Sometimes I'd listen to her, but I got kind of tired of the sugary sweetness of all the love and happiness. And I had just gone through a nasty, ugly divorce, and I wasn't feeling a lot of love and happiness. So I wanted to have a show the opposite of Delilah's. And that's actually where the Angry Bitch Club first formed. It was in my own mind back in the 90s, early 2000s. So if you're wondering how we got there, that's how we got here. So Shauna says, she lost me with the restaurant analogy. It didn't work for me.
Yeah,
that did not work for me at all. As much as I liked her, I thought that restaurant, that actually had my head spinning for a few minutes.
Yeah, so she was talking about the temporary, she was talking about RUM, where there was basically saying, like, and when she said deletion, what she meant was subtraction. Now, when you do mathematical problems and like physics equations, like, you need to account for, like, and then we deduct 5 from either side, it's still there. So she's basically saying, like, well, it's not a deletion, it's just basically that it was here, but because it was completed, it gets subtracted, so it wasn't deleted.
Right.
That's what she was trying to say by all that, by saying that it was held in a specific space. And that's why she said, because a lot of people were like, no, you could totally delete stuff online. Like, no, you can't delete from this piece. But Richard Green is going to turn around and say, yes, it shows up in here, but it also shows up in here. And it shows that somebody who has knowledge of this would go in there and get rid of it. That you can, but only but like the population, like the percent of the population who knows how to do this is so small and so specific. So somebody like, I don't know, an IT person, who I believe that's what Matt McCabe does, but that's somebody like that would know to go in and delete that.
Right. Imagine that, her husband. And that's a good segue, because I just wanted to pull up key things from the last 2 weeks. And we mostly, last Friday night, we spent a lot of time with Jen. And so we're going to finish Jessica Hyde, and then we're going to go backwards a little bit, back to Jen and Carrie, and talk out their friendship a little bit more. And I love this one. This was a great shot that they got from last year's trial. This was Jen McCabe's third day of testimony. And this is epic to me. And this is like an epic photograph. Okay, Tanner, I'll take you up. This was like an epic photograph to me that they got of Jen and Karen. So 2:27 p.m. is when she went on the stand. So we'll talk a little bit more about that here in a little while. And then we're gonna I'll play a little bit more of her testimony, the cross. Of course, the Nagel blob always comes up and is in the photo with Julie. She's got her blob right there.
I can't believe that Julie Bagel didn't show up. I went out and specifically bought bagels because I'm like, oh, here it is. Here we go. Here's our moment to shine. Let's go get bagels and we'll have bagels. And she didn't show.
I loved how, but you were the one that pointed this out to me because I didn't, how she was like shying away from like making it out like she barely knew who Julie was.
Julie who? I don't know her.
Julie who? So I found this nice house for Julie's. I'm going to send it to her for Christmas. This nice house for her Julie blob to live in for the rest of its blob life. So then anyway, we'll get to a little more of day 2 with her blue sweater, and then we'll talk a little bit about just shock, no horror. That was Julie's quote from last week. I was talking about her spray tan, her highlights. Nice, Jen. And then Julie said it was just shock, no horror. So Jen's getting rid of that horror because she doesn't want to come across as a drama queen, apparently. But I got called a drama queen by one of the suspects in one of my cases. And I don't know how he got my number, but he got it. And now I'll give you the update on that as soon as I run Mr. Big Mouth out here. Come here, puppy. Come here, puppy. Puppy says, I've had enough of this now. I want to go outside. Anyway, so then we're going to talk a little bit about Paul O'Keefe and how he finally got what he deserves. And there we go with her outfit of day 3. We'll go into that a little bit. And Carrie Roberts, Michael Proctor, Officer Lank, under the bus they go. Isn't it interesting how quickly Proctor can just be tossed aside and become the sacrificial lamb, right?
I'm sorry, what was that?
I said it's pretty interesting how quick they can throw Proctor under the bus now and blame everything on him.
Oh, they're like Proctor. I don't know her. All of a sudden, it's like, yeah, we did this, and then Yuri is the one who did this, and Tully is the one that did this, and yeah, that Proctor person, I don't know who that was. Yeah, we talked to the medical examiner who's totally going to testify but isn't, and then we talked to this one, but yeah, this Proctor person, I don't know who that is.
Yeah, I was pretty stunned. It's like almost every other 5 minutes, somebody was throwing Proctor under the bus and blaming him for everything. He left this side of the police report. He left that out. He didn't cover that. He didn't ask me that. Very quickly, he goes under the bus. And then we'll talk about the group text. That's pretty huge stuff. I don't know how the jury's going to ignore that.
That was psychotic. The group text between the 4 of these guys, and then the group text, including Carrie, where she was basically it looked to me that Jen McCabe was basically parroting Carrie's response to everybody else to make her look sympathetic. That's what it looked like to me. Again, I'm not a professional. I just do blob stuff. So
you're a blobologist.
I'm a blobologist, award-winning blobologist, because I got stickers. I got gold stickers I can put on.
So we'll get to the group text tonight, and then a little bit about the whole FBI thing with Jen.
Oh, yeah, the Avon lady and the ice cream truck.
Yeah, that was crazy. So I've got to take Tanner out. I'm going to start Jessica Hyde for you all, and then we'll go back over this outline. I'll be right back. I'm going to start the video first.
Is this the Jessica Hyde one? No?
Yes, it is. Hang tight. I'm just pulling it up now.
Oh, okay. All right. That one starts at 1 hour. Because we don't need to listen to Lally again. I mean, it was bad enough today, but
talk a little bit about your educational background and your work history. Starting with undergraduate.
No, we can fast forward.
My undergraduate degree is a Bachelor of Science in Electronics Engineering Technologies. I was on active duty in the Marine Corps at the time, so I went to several schools. My final graduation.
She was a Marine too. I forgot about that.
Slow down your speech a little bit, if you can. Absolutely. So my final graduation was from ECPI College of Technology. However, I attended several universities because I was on active.
What happened?
By examiners.
Hang tight. Technical difficulties. Is that last year's Jessica Hyde?
Yeah, that's last year's. That's Kat. If you go to 1 hour, it's just the last 5 minutes. It's just Yanetti's Cross is like 6 questions. I just want to get to that one.
Oh, got it. I thought that I had the wrong thing. So sorry about that, guys. I thought I'd accidentally pulled up the last year's and that you were showing today's. So, okay, hang tight. I'm going to mute again and then I'm going to pull that up.
Yeah, today's was a lot. I mean, I don't think anybody wants to listen to today's again. And I mean, we could talk about it on Friday. Then she'll like the first 10 minutes that shows her saying that. But I just want to do like a comparison to last year, like how quick it was.
Yeah.
And like how he got so much out of her.
Great, because I want to catch up to last week with Jen and everybody, and then we can cover everything that's happened this week. Well, minus we did the scientists, and I want to talk a little bit about Gallagher before we close out tonight. But then Friday we'll have the whole night to recap this week. Okay, let me go look for that. Get it? Well, it's.
Yay! I just love wellness. Getting your daily dose of nutrients doesn't have to.
Yeah, so at the 1 hour mark.
And the last search that is made in that particular tab. And that's my conclusion.
What, if any, conclusion did you come to in regards to items being deleted pertaining to those artifacts you were looking?
In regards to those artifacts pertaining to those search terms, I had no evidence of deletion.
I have a moment, Your Honor.
Yes. Mr. Lally?
Yes, Your Honor. The Commonwealth that seeks to introduce and admit as the next 3 exhibits, Table 1, Table 2, and Figure 1 for Ms. Hyde's report.
Okay. There's no objection, Mr.
There is
Yannetti.
no objection, Your Honor.
Thank you.
And thank you, Your Honor, and thank you very much, ma'am. I have no further questions, Your
All
Honor.
right. Mr. Yannetti?
Thank you very much, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Ms. Hyde.
Good afternoon, sir.
Ms. Hyde, you just spent maybe 45 minutes to an hour, whatever the time period was, explaining to these jurors what is really a complex set of facts that led you to conclude that the 2:27 a.m. timestamp on that Google search was triggered by the closing of a tab. Did I essentially sum that up correctly?
Essentially, except it's not a 2:27 a.m. timestamp on a Google search. It's a 2:27 a.m. timestamp on a tab.
Fair enough. Thank you. And in the context or in the course of your explanation, you discussed WAL files,
That is correct.
SQLite database,
Yes.
plist database,
Yes.
Knowledge C database.
Yeah. plist is not a database. Just it's a structure. So just a small correction.
Thank you for the
The
correction.
structure holds data.
Opening tabs and closing tabs, correct?
Yes.
And other issues related to your analysis of the phone extraction, correct?
Would you call them issues? Or
Well, maybe that's a bad word to use. Other elements.
that's fair. Fair enough. Yes. Yes.
I'm really not trying to trick you. I know I wouldn't be able to. Would you agree with me that another simple explanation for that 2:27 a.m. timestamp was that the user of that iPhone conducted that search at or before 2:27 a.m.?
Can you rephrase, please?
I'm going to phrase it the same way and hope I
Repeat it. Repeat it, please.
Thank you. Would you agree with me that another simple explanation for that 2:27 a.m. timestamp was that the user of that iPhone conducted that search at or before 2:27 a.m. on January 29th of 2022?
That timestamp is not indicative of a time of search. So the question is difficult to answer because I can't say that that timestamp tells me anything about the time of search.
Okay.
There you go.
So as I take your answer,
Mhm.
You're not denying that the timestamp and whatever you get from that timestamp doesn't rule out that the Google search was done at or before 2:27 a.m., correct?
If I'm understanding your question, there was a double negative, so I just want to clarify. The question is if the timestamp could exist because of a search happening at that time.
No.
Or no,
I guess
okay.
What I'm saying is your analysis of the phone does not rule out that the user of that phone performed that Google search at or before 2:27 a.m.
There is
No, it
no
does not.
indication of a Google search at or before 2:27 a.m.
But again, I'm getting to whether you can rule that out, ma'am. That's really the crux of my question. Can you rule out that
Good job,
the
David.
user of that phone conducted that search at or before 2:27 a.m. on January 29th?
There is a very unlikely possibility based on the fact that there is no evidence that the search occurred before that time. That's just like saying that the user searched for pandas at 2:27 a.m. Could you rule that out? I can't rule out something that doesn't exist.
All right. Well, you would agree with me that with regard to your analysis of this phone extraction,
Mhm.
you were given very specific instructions in terms of what to look at, correct?
Correct. I had a very limited scope in this analysis.
And who was it that gave you that limited scope?
That scope was relayed to me by Detective Tully.
Okay. And Detective Tully instructed you specifically to only look at the part of the phone extraction that dealt with the Safari search history. correct?
Safari search history specific to January 29th, 2022. That is correct.
And he instructed you not to look at anything else on the phone, correct?
I looked at related artifacts such as such as what was being done at that time, the phone being on, the phone being used, but not anything else outside of that, correct?
And you were not instructed, for instance, to look at other user activity on the phone, including examining call logs on the phone, correct?
Correct.
And you would agree with me that if you were allowed or instructed to examine the call logs, that could reveal deletion of calls that morning, correct?
Of course. Well,
Okay, the objection sustained.
Thank you.
Any follow-up, Mr. Lally?
No, Your Honor, no redirect.
Ms. Hyde, you are all set.
thank you very much.
And there you have it, everybody. Now, this came in today. Unfortunately, it was padded with 3 hours of a whole bunch of gobbledygook. So it didn't
Watch
come
this
in
fridge test for fake olive oil.
Clear as
I
this.
left these bottles of olive oil in the fridge overnight.
Now we're gonna talk about
Supposedly, if
olive
your
oil.
olive oil is 100% authentic, then it should solidify.
Right, yeah, so this
like
came
this
in
one over here.
today.
But if your olive oil is
And
hot
she
with
started
other cheaper
her
oils, it would
direct
look
with
something like
Greenan
this,
about
containing a liquid
that she was
consistence.
given a
Unfortunately,
specific
this method is actually
um,
not accurate. Most fats can solidify.
she was
when
given
cold,
specific
so
parameters
even
to only
olive
look at
oil
this,
should have been
and
mixed and
also
hardened
that
in the
she did
fridge.
not do the
What
extraction
really
herself,
matters
just like
is
she
the
said
type
here.
of fats in these oils.
I don't know
Olive
what
oil
was
is
going on
packed with
today. Today was just a lot on
monounsaturated
both
fats,
sides,
which are
from the
good for
defense
heart
to the
health, but
prosecution.
also
And I don't
chock
think that
full
they
of
fully
polyphenols.
understood
Some
what was
olive
going
oil
on. And
before
of course,
you're
they did
bed,
understood
and
they
your
were pushing the
sleeping
wrong
partner will love
messaging.
you for it.
I didn't like
Somebody told
today.
me
It
olive oil could be used as
wasn't
sheep.
a great look.
All right, Mr. Lally, whenever you're ready.
Thank you,
Oh
Your Honor.
God, no, no,
good afternoon.
no,
Good
no,
afternoon.
get it away.
Could you please state your name and spell your last
Get it away.
You don't want to listen to Trooper Paul? Are you kidding me?
No, no, get it away.
Not even for a couple minutes?
Shake a can of pennies at it. Get it away.
Oh my
Please,
gosh.
Gallagher was hard enough this week.
No kidding. It's going to be interesting to hear what happens when they call Trooper Paul. Kathy says, I think Keefe was fumbling between covering for his friend and keeping his job, not going to jail, just like so many other LEOs have done in this case. Yep, Kathy, you're right on that one. Roger that, Kim says. Oh my gosh. All right. Well, I've got to go. I put the puppy, my sister's watching the puppy for a minute for me so I could come back and make sure you guys weren't in commercial hell. So let me see here. Who do we need to pull up next? Let's go back to let me remove that guy. Bye, Paul. See you later. All right. So let's chat a little bit about this whole FBI situation. Do you find it odd that we did not know about this in trial one?
No. because
Hey,
again,
Steve's here. Oh my gosh, I have to say hi to my friend Steve. Steve is my former dispatcher from UWPD. He says I've had more than a couple jump off of a parking ramp. It's not funny, you guys. It's not funny at all. But Steve somehow brings humor to dispatching. He was always one to give us all like kind of some nicknames, and he would answer with one-word responses, right, Steve? I'd call in to dispatch and tell him like where I was, or if I came up with a call on my own, and I'd say, hey, this is squad 1 to dispatch, and he'd just simply answer yes. And then I might say, can you put me out at the Memorial Union for 30 minutes? And he would say, Roger. And so Steve is an amazing dispatcher. He's almost retired now. He left that sinkhole of a department that we worked for. That's a live stream for another night when I recruit a bunch of retired cops from the UWPD to finally tell their stories. So Steve and I got a chance to reminisce as we drove up to one of my dear friends' funerals way up in the northwest corner of Wisconsin in Superior. Steve was kind enough to drive me up there, and we represented our friend Daryl. It was his father that passed away, and we lost Daryl, the other dispatcher extraordinaire, a couple years ago to a fatal heart attack. He was only 62. So I might have to talk Steve into coming on the live stream some night, because we could fill your ears with all kinds of true crime stories from UW-Madison, Wisconsin. Thanks for coming, Steve. I appreciate you. So what do you think? How do you think they finally got the information on this? 3 other calls in 10 minutes, lie, truth, or evasive?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So I know from watching pretrial before the first trial 1.0, as everybody's calling it, I know that Bev was very, very, very restrictive. And I mean, even when the FBI wrote the letter saying, I in good faith can't let I don't know if it was the district attorney, not district attorney, the U.S. attorney, Levy, or was the Department of Justice or the FBI, or somebody wrote a letter saying like, hey, this is all the stuff that we have. And like, I think it was in December of 2023, right before, a couple months before trial 1.0 was supposed to go. I mean, like Jimmy writes, Bev the Overrider. She is literally Bev the Overrider, because she would not let anything come in. I mean, it was, like, okay, Jen McCabe did this. Well, nope, you can't have that, because she has nothing to do with this, aside from she was there. She didn't make any phone calls.
Right.
It's unremarkable. Brian Albert, nope, can't have anything there. You can't even have the guys come in who he was in alleged altercations with, and a history of that stuff. That wasn't allowed. Brian Higgins, you couldn't bring in the stuff that he went to the kiosk, get the FBI to download and give to the investigators, which I've never heard of. I didn't know that you could just say like, oh, hang on, let me delete all the incriminating shit off of my phone, and then I'll give it to you. There you go.
Right.
Don't worry, I'll cut and paste it. So like that was allowed, but you can't go and verify this. Like, nope, you can't do that, because that's too invasive. That's against the law. No problem. I don't know how she got them in this time. I don't know if there was pressure. I don't know how they managed to come in this time, unless they were exposed in the public and they just pushed, and she said, fine, have at it, whatever, and just got sick and tired of it. But she let them in this time, and it was wild here. Oh, just like the ice cream man, they stop here, they stop here, they stop there. It's fine. It's like the Avon lady, like Special Agent Avon lady. Do you have this lipstick in shock and horror? Like, is that what it was? Sounds like it.
Oh, I know. I don't know anymore with her. I just
Crazy.
can't. I cannot believe that anybody who follows true crime, or who's been interested in court cases for a long time in their life and reads crime novels, how they can't see that Jen McCabe is lying through her freaking teeth. I just don't get it. When I go on Twitter, some days I get so frustrated with the anti-Karen Reeds, because they've painted her to be such a villain. And let's even say on the outside chance that Karen Reed did accidentally, they were arguing, they got into a little tiff, even though they were getting along in the bar and all the surveillance cameras from the waterfall showed them hugging, kissing, embracing. Let's just say on that off chance they got in the car, and then
good old Jen brings up Bella's mom, and Karen's drunk and she's a jealous person. Some of us are. I've had my bad moments with jealousy. I'll be the first to admit that. We all of us have this insecurity, jealousy sometimes regarding our partners, and especially if our partners aren't very sensitive to that, they just fuel the fire of our jealousy. So let's just say they got into a fight because when John was talking to Jen and Jen was giving her the directions and she used Bella's mom's address as an example, and Karen went, "Oh, so something, something, something about Bella's mom." And then they get into it. And then John's pissed because he's got to defend himself again. And he doesn't feel he's doing anything wrong. And they're arguing in front of 34 Fairview. And he gets out and she's pissed and she just slaps it into reverse, backs over him and doesn't know it. She's drunk, which she might have known it at that moment. But then she goes home, falls asleep. She's drunk. She forgets. Let's say that all happened. Let's say he really did get clipped by her car. His arm is full of taillight bites. He doesn't have a bruise on his body from getting hit by a car. No broken bones, no broken ribs, just a head injury from the very frozen hard ground. And he answers he's able to Face ID his phone. He's able to look at Jen McCabe's final text, and then he dies and drops his phone and it ends up under him. Let's just say all that is true, right? Let's say all that is true. Sure. Then how in the frickin' frick do you explain to me why all these witnesses lie? Why are they lying? Why are they being evasive? It doesn't make any sense. Why is Julie Nagel why is Sarah Levinson looking down at her feet so she doesn't slip? Why is Jen McCabe with her back to the roadway talking about peanut butter and jelly sandwiches? And why is Julie and Sarah Levinson not looking at their surroundings like Heather? Heather was a true and honest witness. When asked the question, what were you doing when you were in the car leaving 34 Fairview? She said, I was looking around at my surroundings. Ding, ding, ding. She gets the chicken dinner. That's what most of us do. When we're a passenger in a car, we're looking around at our surroundings, right? Honest answer. That's the truth. All the other witnesses had an excuse for why they wouldn't have seen a 6'2" over 200-pound man in jeans and a gray sweatshirt lying in the front yard by the flagpole as they passed by, and had just been there not that long. So we know for a fact now there wasn't enough snow to have covered an entire man's body, right, Julie? You did the experiment with the Nagel blob.
I mean, like you could look at it and I mean, like there are like 4 or 5 components that need to be hit in order to have this happen. And you can get like 3 out of the 4 or like 3 out of the 5 of them. It's like, well, what if, like he stuck his arm out and those marks are from the taillight? Well, then how do you explain the cut over his eye and the nick over here and the goose egg? And now we know from Carrie that there was an ice cube on his face. Okay, new information. And how do you do all this? And then the ground being frozen and smacked, and then you say, well, he didn't pirouette, he was launched. Okay, well, how do you explain the cuts on his arm then? Well, you say, well, no, he was launched and then he launched and then he got up and then did this. Okay, well, how do you explain the condition of his brain where the skull was hit and the brain was hit so that his brainstem was severed, and he basically just, as soon as that impact happened, he died instantaneously, which again leads me to my theory of that they did a final blow before they brought him out. Again, allegedly speculation, but because that was the final, like he would have been dead after that, which means no function whatsoever. Okay, well, how do you explain? Like, there's just so many, like, it's so ridiculous and like it's so baffling to me. Like, like knowing how force directions work and force vectors and directionality and
right
and forces that would need to apply. I mean, it's so absurd to me. Like the guy in the attic keeps, like, well, you could do this and you could sustain because you would do that. So you're telling me that this person was so strong, he managed to withstand a taillight coming at him at 24 miles an hour.
He broke a taillight. They're trying to get us to believe, Julie, that he broke that taillight in 47 pieces.
He stood there and realized what was going on when your human brain doesn't register that at that speed. He managed to break that, but then was so weak that he was launched. So he could withhold that force, but then be launched? No.
Right. and
He's
still
either
able to
Wolverine or he's not Wolverine. Sorry.
Right, and still able to face IDEA's phone and look at Jen McCabe's last text
It's
message.
so much.
There's
It's
no
too
way
much.
all that happened.
It's too much.
It's too much. There's no way all that happened. It's impossible. And I've read so
Absolutely not.
many. I've read some auto mechanic guys coming onto Twitter and Facebook. I've read other
Yeah,
cops
same
coming
thing.
on.
Yeah, same thing.
I've read other scientists, other people coming on saying this is scientifically impossible. There's no way that his elbow made that tail light shatter into 47 pieces.
Nope.
I'll be right back. I got to grab the puppy.
Yep. Yeah. That whole entire bit about the elbow is the strongest part of the human body, that you could do that, and that whenever you're in a fight you do that, and if somebody is in MMA you can armbar them with the elbow, and that's why it's not legal. When you're fighting another human being and another person grabs you from behind and you're basically stuck, they tell you use your elbow because you don't have your biggest muscle right here to kick them, and you can't get the leverage. So the best thing you could do is use your elbow to hit them and try to hit them in the diaphragm, so that they basically are stunned, so that you have a moment to basically release yourself. But that's also the strength of another human being. It's human being on human being. This is human being against steel, against something that is made like in the experiments that I do. We see me with a $5 piece of crap. Not even polycarbonate, polymethyl acrylic, which is a lesser quality, but still pretty strong. But still, $5 piece of crap that it took, I think, at least 9 whacks for me to try to smash it, and it still didn't shatter into pieces. You're telling me that a human being, which is basically just meat, using the strength of your tricep and your upper deltoid, you're gonna use that to smash something with? It's small. It's basically like half the size of my phone, or basically like the muscle mass of a chicken wing. You're gonna use that to smash something? I mean, when it's human against human, at least it's basically like two marshmallows fighting one another. Like, you take a marshmallow and you put it up against a 7,000-pound SUV. What do you think's gonna happen? Like, what fantasy land do these people live on? It's so infuriating, and it's so insulting to Officer John O'Keefe that this passes for, yeah, this is legitimate. This totally happens. Who are they trying to sell this to?
Well,
They're trying to convince themselves.
yeah. I think
absurd.
for whatever reason, some people just can't stand Karen Reed. So that's their reason for believing what they believe. And then you've got Kate Peters, who used to work for Aiden and has a grudge to bear. So it's just so interesting how somebody who believed in her innocence can flip because she got mad at Aiden and they had that argument, and he accused her of stealing from him. Come here, Tanner. That then she flips to the other side and then becomes this like spokesperson for the O'Keefes and for the O'Keefes and for the Alberts and the McCabe's. So that whole situation is really weird and strange. It'll be interesting to see what comes of it. I just wanted to catch up with the chat box here really quick. So welcome. I'm going back up to find you. Brian, where are you? And thanks for commenting. I'm just going back up to look for your comment here so I can catch up. Brian Hearn, welcome. Glad to have you as a live stream watcher with Social Change Warriors. I hope you subscribe to our channel. We are trying to get to 1,000 before the end of May, which would break my original goal of July. So thanks to everybody who subscribed. And if you do the bell thingy, like I like to do with my favorite live streamers, then you'll always know when we have a live stream. But we're pretty much on Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, unless I have to change the schedule for travel. But we're pretty much on at 8 p.m. Eastern, those 3 nights of the week. Why is no one talking about Higgins' connection to the Taliban? He knew Muhammad Atta. Oh, well, this is new to me, because that's why I'm not talking about it, Brian. You're taking me to school right now. I know nothing about that. So if you can enlighten us in the friend zone area, our chat box friend zone area, I would be happy to talk about it. We're obviously going to be talking about Higgins. We never got to Higgins on our Friday Night Lies 1.0 trial because we ran out of time. I was hoping that this trial was going to get pushed to May because of all the shenanigans and that we would have been able to completely catch up. But so we haven't done our review yet of Brian Higgins trial 1. So we're probably going to wait till he goes. Then we'll do a compare and contrast. We'll do clips from trial 1 and we'll do clips from trial 2 and compare and contrast him, kind of like we're doing with Jen McCabe now. So yeah, feel free to enlighten us. Anybody else have any info on this? I did not know this. I don't know anything about it. But nothing surprises me now in this Free Karen Read, John O'Keefe Theater of the Absurd. Nothing surprises me now. So let's see. Oh, Steve, I would say on the radio, I can. Wouldn't her Lexus beep to notify her that she was close to an object, which would be John? Then your car automatically hits the brake to stop. Good one, Kim. I was actually just reading this. A bunch of people on Twitter a couple days ago were talking about this, that if she had a newer model Lexus, I have an older model Cadillac SUV, which is an SRX, and I have the crash assistance or whatever they call it. So my seat actually vibrates. And makes a beep, like a boop, like that kind of a noise, like that, like boop. And then in my rear mirror, things happen. So that's a really good question. I'm sure. Well, they didn't really get to that in trial 1. But here's the thing. They probably wouldn't want to bring that up because I think they're just trying to stay away from anything even remotely implying that she might have hit him. That, if she didn't back up like they're saying she did and he was already in the house, I think they're going with that that occurrence that's showing up on her car computer. Now I don't know if you saw this, Julie, or if anyone else did, but I saw somebody talking about a theory now that what if she did more than just back into John's car in the driveway? What if she actually hit the garage because it was snowing and she was still drunk and caused the garage some damage? Because whoever picked up the kids, if you guys recall, made a comment that there was something wrong with the garage door.
They did?
Yeah. That was out in last year. That was out during last year's trial, that whoever picked the kids up, and I can't remember who pick the kids up right now. It's just
was it the Camaranos?
I don't remember. Does anybody else remember who picked up well, it wasn't the kids, it was just Kaylee, because Patrick was at a sleepover. Patrick didn't get picked up till the next day. It was only Kaylee that had to be picked up by somebody.
It was the Camaranos.
It might have been, but somebody mentioned that there was something wrong with John's garage door. And so then there's this theory out there on social media that Karen could have hit the garage, and that might have been that incident that showed up. Other people have surmised that it's when they loaded her car on the flatbed to tow it.
Yeah, that's the key cycles match up to that.
Key cycles matches up
to that, because I did in my notebook up there. I measured the circumference of the tire and how many rotations it did, which matches up to about 90 something feet, which is what the event is totally for key cycle 1162, and it matches a lot better than, because that driveway is not 62 feet, but it moved 62 feet, and then something happened and they slammed on the brakes because it was getting too close to the tow truck, and then went back and forth, and then but see, people online, they go, well, they put it in neutral because it was going on the tow truck. No, they put it in neutral because the guy pulled forward to get out of the snow and then went to go put it in reverse, but wasn't familiar with it, and it got caught in neutral, then hit the gas and was like, no, wait a minute, let me put it in reverse. That's what happened. That's why Hank did his little, she put it in neutral and then slipped and then slammed it in reverse.
Right.
That's an accident of somebody who's not familiar with the car.
There are so many nuances, so many little tiny things that happened in that 24-hour period that's why none of it is adding up. And so I forgot to mention this to you guys. 2 weeks ago, my son's car, there was something wrong with his, we didn't know it was the computer, but we found out it's the computer now. But so I worked up to save up for it, and we had it towed. So I called Geico, our insurance company. They sent the tow people over, and the tow truck shows up, and I meet the guy, and the first thing out of his mouth is something very Bostonian. I looked at him and I said, oh my God, are you from Boston? And he said, yes, ma'am, I sure am. Born and raised, blah, blah, blah. Just moved down here to Florida, the wife and I, about 4 years ago. I said, are you following the Karen? And I couldn't even get Reed out of my mouth. He goes, oh my God, you're following too? My wife is addicted. And so here we are standing in my driveway talking about Karen Reed and John O'Keefe. And I'm talking to a Bostonian who happens to be a tow truck driver. So I said to him, as he's getting ready to hook up my son's car, I said, he started taking pictures, and I just looked at him and I said, you're doing what they should have done the night they towed Karen Reed's car, aren't you? And he said, I always take pictures, ma'am. He said, that's what we're supposed to do. That's what we're trained to do.
Yep. Yeah.
So I invited him to come on Friday Night Live on Friday and teach us all, take us all to school on what is protocol if you are towing a vehicle that he said most tow truck companies and drivers tell you that you take a photo of the license plate. And if there's any damage, you take a photo of the damage so you don't get blamed for it.
Exactly. And it's very interesting. And when Sean went on to speak with Kate Peter, one of the big things that Sean brought up was, why is there not a motor vehicle incident report on this? And because any involvement with cars or trucks or any type of vehicle on the road, you're supposed to have a motor vehicle incident, because the first thing that gets contacted is the insurance company. Well, why don't they want the insurance company involved? Because the insurance company is going to look at this and say, you want me to pay out on what? And let me look. And they're gonna rip into this and go, absolutely not. And they're gonna toss it immediately. So if we don't have one of those, never happens. And who's gonna hold them accountable for this? The DA? Oh, you muted. Are we gonna do charades? What are we gonna do? Sounds like 2 words. Oh, it's on the phone. Okay. Should we talk amongst ourselves? All right, we'll talk amongst ourselves. Let's see. Anybody saying anything?
Stand by, everybody. I'm online with the dispatcher of the tow truck company. Stand by.
Did you call him? Oh boy. Shauna, that's interesting. I didn't hear that. You said that it wouldn't close properly. I know that one of the clips. I don't know if it was shown in court or if it was just in one of the documentaries. It says that she said, well, I couldn't have been that drunk because it's very hard to get into John O'Keefe's garage in the driveway because his car was there, and I managed to make it in there, no problem. So it was fine. And I remember saying, like, you smashed into his car on the way out. How, like, that's no argument there. But I guess if they're saying, like, well, that never happened, she didn't smash into it, it was planned, this and that, da 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 da. But when she's calling him and yelling at him, calling him all sorts of names, when she's actually in the garage and you can hear beeping and you go, what's that beeping? It's the car beeping. And that was one of those pretrial stuff too, is that she was supposedly disengaging stuff. Like she went through, and even though she was like blind drunk, obliterated drunk, she was so precise and calculated by doing all this. Like, make it make sense.
Okay. Thank you for bearing with me there. The tow truck driver told me I could call him anytime if I'm live streaming. So I thought, why not give it a try? So I just called him, and that was his dispatcher. So I chatted with her for a few minutes, and she's going to see if he's available to take a call from us. So we'll see if he's available.
Live on air.
It's already 10:30 Eastern time, so I might have waited too long to contact him, but he was very nice. He and his wife absolutely believe that Karen Reed is innocent. They don't buy anything that the CW is selling, and they're both from Massachusetts, lifelong residents there until they retired down here to Florida. So we'll see. So what does our friendly friend zone have to say about all of this? So let's see here. Yes, MCAT says they do not behave like innocent people. No,
absolutely
they don't. No, there's nothing that any of them do that screams, I'm an innocent witness.
I'm an innocent witness, but I didn't witness anything because none of them witnessed a gosh dang thing. They can call them witnesses all day long, but there were no witnesses to John O'Keefe's death.
Yep.
That's the problem.
And none of them were friends with anybody who was there, and she had no idea what was going on. But she definitely knew that Karen said, "I hit him, I 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 hit him." How many times did what's her face on the stand say, "I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him"? But was very combative.
Between her and Jen, Katie and Jen, I think they both repeated it. Each of them like 5 separate times. It was almost like they were getting off on saying it over and over and over. I hit him.
I don't know about that, but yeah, it was too much.
It was making me so mad. Like I was getting so frustrated and mad that they're allowed to sit up there and also not answer yes or no questions. This trial has had more of that than trial 1.
It's so ridiculous how combative they are. I mean, like just like simple stuff too. Like why you like it's one thing like Brennan gets up and does the direct, and they go through and it's like, yep, we saw Karen there, and she was flipping out and this and that. And then like you're like, okay, that's okay, like to a jury, like that sounds like pretty convincing, and like they're doing okay, like a little awkward, like we know, like but to a jury. But then the defense gets up, and instead of just going along with the defense and answering questions and saying like, okay, like we could tell this to a jury, they get so freaking defensive, and the jury must be thinking like, why is this person arguing so much? Like they have no reason to argue these like stupid little points. It's like, oh, you wrote on your glove, like, well, I don't understand why the big like, what? Just say yes or no. Just say yes or no.
Right. A lot of them are trying to elaborate on answers when he's simply asking for a yes or no. And both Jackson and Yannetti have had issues with that way more than I remembered the first trial.
Yeah, it's too much. And like they're getting it from like what's her face? The nurse, Sarah Levinson did it too. Like she got it. Like she got very argumentative with some of the stuff. Like Katie McLaughlin, like you knew was gonna get argumentative, but like
right.
Like and like Jackson with some of them, like you don't need to go hard on every single witness. Like just like pick and choose your battles. Like you don't need to go hard on every single point and every single witness. Like that's my like one criticism. Like you could have just like eased up on some of the stuff and like just moved along and saved it for some of the key witnesses. But like to see the witnesses go back at the attorneys, like what are we doing?
Yeah, it's been, I just noticed it more this trial than ever. Like, and it gets very frustrating when they want to just elaborate because they want to be able to push their agenda. By answering yes or no, they cannot push their agenda. And that's what seems, just seems so obvious. So Shauna says, I am curious, where was Brian Jr. all morning? Wasn't he living there?
Yeah, he was in his room.
Right. They're basically typical young adult, early 20s, sleeping in, but I don't buy it. There's no way. I think they were all awake in that house. Brian Jr. absolutely has to know what happened. There's no way they could have kept all of that from anybody in that house.
Yeah. What about their other 3? Right? They have 5 kids total. They have 4 or 5.
5.
Yeah, 5. And there were 2 that were there that night. It was Brian Jr. and Caitlin. Where are the other 3? Were they just not there at all? Or?
Well, one's in the military, so one's not there. But where were the other 2 girls that are younger than Caitlin? Right? They've never been mentioned. They never were talked about being there that night. I don't remember their ages, but they're younger than Caitlin for sure. It's the other 2 girls, I believe, right?
Are they like young? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't think young, but I thought at least one of them was still in high school because
I never mind
math, right? Because Caitlin's roughly 28. I don't know how old the one in the military is. Brian Jr. just turned 23 2 years ago or 3 years ago, when that happened, 3 years ago. Back at the time, I would have expected that one of the hey, I'm going to write that down. I'll do some research on that. We'll talk about that.
So one of them must have been in high school then. Okay, so
one of them must have had to have still been in high school, unless they were both away at college and the other son was in the military.
That's what MCAT said. One Marine, others at college. Okay, all right, that's why.
Right. So good one, Shauna. Thank you. And MCAT says, Steve, my dispatcher's one-word response is proceed. Like, stop calling me and go back to work. That's right. Steve, MCAT works for the fire department. She's in a suburb somewhere near Chicago, but she's an Iowa fan. So her and I like to squabble.
Okay.
Yeah, we like to squabble. And yeah, don't forget he also pirouetted, of course.
Oh, Jesus.
Shauna says, if you look at pictures of OJO in the hospital, in right shoulder appears dislocated. Oh, interesting. I actually saw a bruise that I didn't notice when I was looking at the autopsy photos a couple days ago that I did not notice last year. I saw a bruise and I'm not sure.
On the shoulder?
No, it was kind of on his side. I was curious about that one.
That was yeah, somebody brought that up before. That was it lividity?
Oh, okay. Yeah. It could have been that. Yeah. So Shauna, what made you think that it looked dislocated? What about it? How did it look that made you think, did it look as if the bone was actually sticking up, or I'm curious. And then she says, but they didn't x-ray his body. Right. Which that's weird. That's weird because if there's potential that he was hit on purpose and was in a hit and run, why wouldn't you x-ray his body to see if what other broken bones he had or whatever, injuries that he had that you couldn't visibly see? That makes zero sense to me.
Yeah, no, this whole thing makes no sense. I mean, I have issues with the autopsy as well, especially if they didn't know. And like she said, she put it as unknown. I mean, they kept trying to push saying like, no, it's oh yeah, and then today too, like, oh, do you have what did David say? Do you have input? Like, no, we just tell them facts. Isn't that input? Crazy, but isn't that input? No,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So Kat says the taillight 47 pieces stuff, it's a bunch of bull. Well, if you guys ever got the chance to watch Sean on the Golf, he's an ex-DEA agent and he used to be a police officer back in the day. And he started live streaming because he's from Canton. So last summer he started live streaming and had his own shows, and they were highly entertaining and informative because of all of the work he did in his police career, but also because he has his heart and soul into it, being from Canton. Hi, Sean. Sometimes he watches us on Friday Night Live, so we can all say hi to Sean on the Golf. Living retirement gloriously in South Florida. He did a lot of live streams about the taillight. And the one photo that I remember the best, and I'm not sure if I have that one. Let me hang on. Let me see if I have it to pull up for you guys or not. It's the one where he shows that the taillight pieces were found in groups. So Proctor found a group of taillight piece.
Yeah.
Proctor found a group of taillight piece. What's his name? The chief that died, Berkowitz.
Oh, Berkowitz. Yep.
So what are the mathematical possibilities, our scientists, Julie, and even let's ask the blog too. What are the mathematical possibilities that if you are a cop and you go back to a scene after it's been released, after it's no longer secure, where anybody could do anything to that scene and you're not going to know, and each person finds taillight that fit into the puzzle in the same spot? What are the mathematical odds of that?
Okay, so let me just understand. So what is the likelihood of going to a scene where there is a supposed vehicle strike where the taillight shatters in a location and 3 officers who responded to the scene over a span of 3 weeks after a storm, after plows, after people passing by, managed to not only recover pieces of the taillight in just about all of its completeness, except for one piece about this big. And they managed to recover it in a way so that each person has like a section here and a section here and a section here in completeness. Let me consult with the blob.
Please consult with the blob. Thank you.
Oh, no, you got to carry the one. Yeah, it's slim to fucking none. That's what it is.
Thank you. Exactly. And also, I'm looking for that taillight photo because it was on Sean's show and I had taken a screenshot of it back then. But this is the other situation that we've been kind of, tossing back and forth that, saw Jeep, Brian Albert, Jen McCabe, Matt McCabe, Brian Higgins, did not see Jeep. Brian Albert Jr., Ryan Nagel, Heather Maxon, Richie D'Antonio, Caitlin Albert, Tristan Morris, Julie Nagel, Chloe, and they left out that who they leave out. There was one person I thought that they left out who didn't see the Jeep. Who am I missing? Who are they missing? Anyway,
let's see. There were the three in front. Julie Nagel. I think that's it, right?
I think that is it. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Katie, thank you. I grabbed this off of Twitter, fair use, Katie, and we thank you for putting this meme up here. A Jeep was parked in front of the mailbox, or was there? So I saw somebody else throw a theory out today on the going through the motions, Sean on the Gulf's Facebook group. Somebody threw out a theory that maybe Brian Higgins' only truth that he told was that he left at 12:30 or 12:20 or something like that.
What's their basis? What's their
Because
basis?
well, basically what they're saying is that if he got there first, before, like he says, before Brian and Caitlin and Nicole, because remember, they left first because John and Karen were still at the bar with the McCabe's. So Higgins got there first. He says he did a swipe of the driveway, which we know is utter bullshit because there wouldn't have been enough snow for him to put that plow down at that time of the night when it had just started to snow, and parked his Jeep in front of the mailbox. And then Brian Albert, Caitlin, and Nicole pull in after him. They see the Jeep. Then Jen and Jen and Matt McCabe get there. They see the Jeep. Brian Higgins goes in, whatever's going to happen, maybe he didn't want to be there for it, and maybe he left. And that would explain why all these other people didn't see the Jeep. And then maybe he came back after Brian Albert and Colin beat up John to help clean up the mess. It's not an impossible theory. And that was what I saw. They were discussing that if Brian Higgins came and left before the truck kids got there, before Karen and John got there, then none of those people would have seen the Jeep because it wouldn't have been there anymore.
But where are they saying that he went? Because he was still in Canton by around that time.
They're not, because their theory. The discussions that I saw kind of ended there. But it's a theory because we don't know what happened because the liars aren't going to tell the truth. There's no video cameras. There's no surveillance. Everything's a theory as to what happened to John when he stepped foot in that house.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's, I mean, I get why with like pre-trial before trial 1.0, I get why everyone was pushing like the John and Karen pulled up, John got out of the house. John got out of the car, went into 34 Fairview, and immediately got incapacitated and got attacked, and whatever happened.
Right.
And like that keeps getting pushed, and that keeps getting pushed, and that keeps getting pushed. And it's like, no, it happened just like this. He went in, and this happened, and this happened, and this happened, and this happened. Well, now we're finding out that there's other stuff that's going on where his phone was still accessed at 12:32, and there were steps around and moving, and it seemed like there's more stuff with Karen. So it just seems like there's a lot more that came out, but for whatever reason, it seems like like the Free Karen Read side of like I don't really want to call it propaganda campaign, but like that campaign is still pushing that, and they're like, no, all the steps are it's everybody else, and this didn't happen. They put in a Faraday, this and that, and it's like, well, you don't really need to prove what happened, but if you're tied to this theory that like he walked in the house and immediately was incapacitated, but then all this other data comes in. You don't need to prove what happened. You just need to dispute what the Commonwealth is throwing up there.
Right.
Like if all this stuff comes in, like you could change your theory because it's not up to the defense to do that. It's up to the prosecution and the investigators to do that. Like it comes in and they have a ridiculous theory, like poke holes in all of that. Like there's so much reasonable doubt in this where he could have walked in, he could have did this, he could have did that. Higgins could have been there. I mean, Higgins could have, I don't know, went with Karen and, stuffed one another in the bush or whatever, like whatever happened. We don't know. It's not up to us to prove, unfortunately. Step 2 is going to be prove what actually happened. Step 1 is to deal with this case And like a lot of these, like I see that, like I don't watch them as much anymore because there's just so much going on. This trial is fucking exhausting, but like they're still pushing it. They're like, no, he walked in and we know he was incapacitated at this point. Like, yeah, but he read his message, and I mean, from what I see, he was still upright and able to articulate. And then whatever happened after 12:32, after we know Karen left and his phone disconnected.
Right.
Like that's not up in the satellites. That's up to something physical that was in a car that was closed, that wasn't interfered with anything else. Like go on hard stuff.
It'll be interesting to see what medical come here, Tanner, what medical examiners say and have, you know, what they think about it, because one of them from trial one, who I can't remember who that is now, but we'll pull it up and get it ready to compare to whoever they bring on this time. Basically said that blow to the head was a death blow.
Yeah, that was it. Yep, that was it.
That was it. So as soon as they whacked him over the head with whatever they whacked him over the head with, he went down convulsed at some point, threw up before he died, and that blow to the head was it. And I can't remember because there's so much in my head right now just from this trial.
Well, so I don't even think that so see, this is why I think that that at a later point, like I think that he got knocked out bad, but I think that he was still alive up until, you know, much later in the night, early morning. And I think that's when somebody, you know, or something happened where he got that final death blow and severed everything. Because if you had that type of damage to the brainstem, all of your functions wouldn't function. So you wouldn't throw up, you wouldn't convulse, you wouldn't do any of that. Your brain is swelling, and it's basically like sending neurons everywhere, and that's the reason why you seize, because you can't get messages, and so it basically shuts down and goes, oh my god, what do we do? Let's go into basically like shock and convulse. If the brainstem is severed like that, you don't do that. So that's what makes me think that there was additional steps to this.
Well,
but again,
this is just my opinion based on the waterfall videos that True Crime Kangaroo was the first. Yeah, Lily from True Crime Kangaroo was the first person to actually notice that little thing that went on, that little dance that was going on with Higgins pointing, and then Chris Albert grabs his arm, and then Brian Albert, you know, they were looking for a fight. That is exactly what it looks like. I have witnessed it in bars where I was called to a bar for a potential bar fight about to happen. And it's that sparring that guys do right before they start punching each other. They're calling each other names. They're calling each other out. They're doing, you know, they're kind of dancing around. And if you watch that Microdots, that's exactly what was going on. They were trying to entice John O'Keefe into a fight right there in the bar. And Kevin, or I mean, Chris Albert or whoever was being more, oh no, let's not do this here. Right.
Yep,
so
grabs him like that. He's like, no, let's go.
That coincides with Tanner's chewing on a bottle. Sorry, guys. He's ready for me to be done. So I'm entertaining him. He likes chewing on water bottles. That coincides with the mood that was in that bar, the way that they were doing those fake play fighting and sparring. And then what happened at the end where they were kind of calling him out, and then Higgins saying, you coming? Like, you know, you coming, MNF? Let's go. I'm ready to fight you. That just wasn't happening in a vacuum. That was a pre-fight behavior. I think he wanted to fight him right there in the waterfall. He didn't give a shit. Look at how many bars fights Brian Albert's been in that have been proven. He doesn't care where he is because he knows he gets away with all that shit. So having a bar fight was no big deal to these guys. They weren't. Chris Albert's right there. He's on the select board. Brian Albert's a cop. Higgins is a cop. John's a cop. Nobody's getting arrested. They'll just let them fight, and then maybe the police will come. Maybe the bar owner would call the police, but maybe not, because that bar owner knows they're all cops.
Yep.
So if that fight had gone down right then and there, maybe John wouldn't have died. But for whatever reason, they backed off. They didn't do the fight right there in the bar. I can guarantee you that's why Jen wanted Karen to ride with her, so that they could do their little bar fight without any witnesses. Because they all know the owner of that bar. They go there. That's their place. So this
I don't know about that.
Totally my opinion.
I mean, she definitely seemed like very, very, very jazzed about it. And I mean, that's why, like, going back to the house, like, I think something definitely happened. And I think that's why when Ryan Nagel and those guys pulled up and Julie Nagel came out of the house, I think that's why she said like, "Oh, I changed my mind. I'm going to stay. Why don't you guys come in?" I think that something happened and she kind of like ran out and was like, "Holy shit, they're about to fight. Come on in. Let's see. Drama."
I just don't think they were ever planning to fight him at the house. I really don't. I think they were planning to fight him right then and there at Waterfall, knowing they wouldn't get in trouble, knowing no one's arresting them. And I think that's why Jen told Karen, "Why don't you ride with me?" I think she was trying to get Karen out of that bar to ride with her so the guys could have a fight. It's so not rocket science. It's just like right there in front of our faces.
Yeah, see, I don't get all like the Jen McCabe like trying to get Karen like, "Oh no, you're coming with me. You're coming."
Why else would she? Why else would Jen?
I don't get it. I don't get like if they were gonna if Ryan Albert was gonna talk to
friend zone. Give us your opinion. Why else would Jen McCabe, who definitely didn't really like Karen that much? Come on, she lied. She didn't like her that much at all.
I don't think Jen McCabe likes anybody.
No. Why would she have asked Karen to ride, or encourage Karen, "Come on, ride with me"? Why would you want to do that? You'd have to bring her back to her car then at some point, and it's snowing, it's only going to get worse. There is a reason and a method to everything they do and say.
Yes.
Everything all of them do and say to cover this fight up that happened. And John accidentally died in what was supposed to just be let us rough you up, teach you a lesson, John.
Well, I think they were going to talk to him.
Right. And MCAT says that she thinks Chris Albert was trying to be the voice of reason. Yeah, that's how it appears. It appears.
No, I don't think so. I think he seems kind of like a greasy rat type, weasel type. At least that's what it looks like to me. And all the bullshit that he pulls with poor Richie, the defense guy, and Whitey and all those guys. Like, "Oh, you called me a name." Charges.
Right. I want to go back to something that I got to go back to where it was. Hang on, I'm going back up in the chat here a minute. Okay, Shauna. Thank you, Shauna. Agent Sean told us to look into the young ladies that were at the house that eve. Mary Kent, and I forgot the other name. It was Duty, right? Catherine Duty?
Yeah, MCAT has them. Catherine Duty, Emily Fabiano. Can't remember the other ones. Yeah, I remember Catherine Duty because that name's familiar to me. But Fabiano. Yeah, those are the ones that were there before everybody went to the whatchamacallits.
Right.
It seems like they left, but they might have still been there too. Who knows? I mean, that was Sean's big thing, that there were more people in the house, that he believes that there were more people in the house when everybody came back.
Oh, now what are you up to?
Up to no good.
No good. I hear you over here.
Yeah.
I remember,
like little kids, when they're quiet, they're up to no good.
Exactly. He was way too quiet. He grabbed something that belongs to my mom. There's just, again, this just adds to what we're seeing, that there's just so much wrong with these witnesses and their testimony and their non-testimony, and their constant evasive, not wanting to answer the questions, trying to explain. If you use too many words to explain something, that's because you're trying to spin a web. You're trying to lie a little bit. It doesn't mean they're lying completely about the whole situation, but when you have to answer a yes or no question with an explanation, that's never a good sign. If you have to explain everything that you feel you have to get out in a yes or no question, then there's a problem.
Like that's why, like, a lot of these witnesses, I just don't understand. I mean, like, even with Hannah, I was like, why? Okay, like, you go into detail. Like, nobody's accusing you of doing things. Like, just say yes or no or correct or incorrect. But like, go into it. Like, again, that's a mild case, but that's the one that I remember very clearly, because I remember screaming, like, just say yes, just say yes, just say yes. But Sarah Levinson, was it Katie McLaughlin? We're like, "Oh, do you know this person?" Like, no, have no idea. We're like casual, we went to school, but we went to school with like 1 billion people, and never seen this person before in my life. And then pulled out and it's like, "Didn't you go to Maine?" "Yeah, but a lot of people go to Maine." "Did you go to a baby shower?" "Yeah, but a lot of people go to a baby shower." I don't know everybody on earth.
Yeah.
Like, why? What does that look like to the jury?
Hey, stop that, Tanner. Tanner's in a mission. He keeps going over to this little nightstand here in my mom's room and stealing everything on it. So I keep getting up and taking something away, and he goes to the nightstand. He's treating it like it's his personal toy box.
Oh yeah, that's
No.
yeah, MCAT. I think you're absolutely right. I think that she knew what was going on beforehand too. But yeah, season 2, like they all seem like very, very like they all seem like mini me's, like cookie cutters of like this is what Jen McCabe did in the first trial. So we're all just gonna watch what she did, and we'll just do that on the stand.
Right.
In my opinion.
It's just a lot, and you guys have been great tonight in the live friend zone. Shauna says I call it the male war dance. Yeah, exactly. I saw it happen.
Going, like, come on, like go screw yourself. Like, yeah, that's
Yeah, for sure.
yeah. See, I think that's a ruse. Like Chris Albert was trying to be the voice of reason. I think he was just trying to get him to go to 34th Avenue. Like, no, don't worry about that drunken asshole. Just come by, have a drink. Everything's cool. I think that was what was going on, so they could talk to him.
Yeah, Shauna says, I think they wanted to humiliate Karen Reed with the text. They were going to get into KR and OJO biz.
Yeah,
maybe. Very possible, Shauna. That's very possible, because I'm sure Higgins was bragging about the whole thing, you know. There's no way Brian Albert didn't know about that.
No.
They were probably chatting about it the whole way back from New York.
Yep, and we know that Brian Albert and Jen McCabe talk all the time. So I mean, it wouldn't be a stretch for him to mention and say, hey, this fat asshole is flirting with John's girlfriend, and she's got it bad for him, and he's got it bad for her. And wouldn't it be fun because it sounds like they want to go out for drinks? Wouldn't it be fun if we all got together and like made this big scene, and then we could take care of this business that's going on, where he talked to Kevin Albert and called and made a report to Canton Police. Maybe we could take care of that and, have a little fun, and we'll do drama, and we'll do, whatever else.
I just think it was more than just Karen Reed and Higgins, though. There, like you said, John had made a complaint about Colin Albert, and that was proven fact by the police.
It was Colin's friend. It was
Colin's friend, I mean. Yeah. Right. But that was proven fact by the police chief, because she had a press conference on it. So that definitely John was not happy about stuff that was going on in Canton. And I still think there's a possibility that he found out about something to do with the Sandra Birchmore case, because the fact that the judge has said you cannot talk about the Sandra Birchmore case is very unnerving to me.
Yeah, but that's on brand for her. I mean, is it germane in this case? To us, it is. To everyone else, I mean, you could turn around and say, well, you didn't find it in this case, and then it introduces a whole entire other thing. Like, yeah, I mean, of course, like, if Beth has a chance to ice something, she's going to.
Right.
Again, it's not there to prove what happened. It's there to
it's all about reasonable doubt in America.
So like that, right. like it doesn't make a lot of sense. Like in the actual investigation, it should be looked at. Like, hey, why didn't Garino find all this stuff? But in this specific case, I don't think so, and I think it'll just confuse the jury.
So
like,
how can all these riddle me this, friend zone chat box and Julie? How can all these anti-Karen Reeds ignore the fact that in America, in a trial, if you cannot say that this person is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt and to a moral certainty in your state of Massachusetts, which is even a higher standard, there's no way a case like this with this many inconsistencies, and now we've got new things being added to testimony of people where we're expecting their memories should be getting worse, and now they're claiming their memories are getting better, and they didn't say it in trial one.
I forgot about that.
I mean, that in and of itself is reasonable doubt. And all of the other components to this case where they don't have enough evidence, there's no witnesses seeing Karen hit John. There's nothing. And then you've got all the medical inconsistencies with his injuries and with the medical examiners. And then you've got reasonable doubt all over this case. It's buried in reasonable doubt. This is not a case that should have ever even gone to trial, because they don't take things to trial. The DAs and the prosecutors do not take something to trial unless they feel they have a really great 99.9% chance to win. That's why so many of the homicides in this country there's no justice, because this is what's going on with Kara Veach, with her husband, Jason Veach. And if you've been watching us on Thursdays, Calling Out Corruption, she's also been on our Wednesday show. Her husband was killed in a bar fight, but her husband was only being aggressive verbally. He wasn't hurting anybody. He wasn't punching anybody.
he turned a table over and he got pissed because they refused to serve him and he drank too much and he was acting out and being obnoxious. Kara has never said she's never condoned what her husband's behavior was that day. For whatever reason, he drank too much. It caused him to become a bully, which was against his character. And he was pissed and he was yelling at the bartender and demanding to be served. So the bartender called the police. They were on the way. One of the patrons who was a regular at this bar, the Cabbage Patch in Volusia County, decided in his wisdom to go out to his vehicle and come back in with a homemade hatchet / tomahawk. And he had it over his head. And one of the witnesses said he came barreling into the bar with intention. Those were his exact words. We listened to it on the audio a few weeks ago. He came barreling into the bar with intention. So he had the hatchet over his head. He slammed it down on the bar, and Jason would have been to his left on the bar stool. Multiple witnesses said that Jason never got out of his bar stool until Hatchet Man came running in and slammed the hatchet on the bar. Then Jason jumped up from his bar stool, attempted to take the hatchet from Hatchet Man. It brushed his neck area, is what the witnesses said. And then he lifted the guy up and took him to the ground because Jason was a bigger man than Hatchet Man. And they're on the ground. And then other witnesses decide to come and jump on Jason because Jay Keeney, Hatchet Man, is a regular at the Cabbage Patch where Jason was not. They decide to pile on Jason and hold him down. And in the meantime, Hatchet Man leaves the scene. And he later admits in his audio interview that I boogied out of there, he says. I wasn't going to get arrested. I wasn't going to get arrested for a goddamn bar fight. So he leaves the scene, knowing that he shouldn't have left the scene. Michael Beery, the guy who held Jason down the hardest and the longest, which caused him to asphyxiate and die, leaves the scene. And neither one of these guys get tickets for leaving the scene of a death investigation. Neither one of them get tickets for lying during their interview because they both lied in their interview, and it was later proven that they lied by the detective. Nobody's been charged with a damn thing, and the prosecutor refuses to prosecute because they say that they don't have enough evidence because the surveillance cameras were not turned on to prosecute them and to take them to trial. Guys, they have way more evidence that Jason's death was manslaughter and should have never happened than anything on Karen Read. If Karen Read can go to trial, then Michael Beery and Jason Keeney should have gone to trial. That's what's so difficult in our country. Everything is all over the board. 1 minute, they're taking people to trial when they shouldn't. The next minute, they're not going to trial when they should. And you've got all these families left with no justice. And you've got people being taken to trial and accused or being framed of a crime they didn't commit. And then you've got guys that lost their temper, acted like morons, created a manslaughter situation, took a life of a fellow biker, and they're not being taken to trial.
Excuse me, could you move it maybe to that end?
Okay.
The nose is all coming up here.
Okay.
Come on, Janet. No, I'm sorry.
Hang on a second, guys. I can grab the dog.
Yeah, no, it's a lot. Like I keep thinking of the jury because like we know, like we all went through trial number one, and some of us went through pre-trial and like know the background of this, and then know what happened like after trial one and with the in between, and know the background. And I keep thinking of the jury and the clips that keep playing and what Emily D. Baker said about count two and the lesser included. And I keep thinking JFK, when this started, I think like it was the day to like 2 or 3 of the trial, asked the chat and said, these clips in the jury, do you think that the jury is thinking like we're thinking, or do you think that she could potentially be found guilty of, maybe not murder, but like manslaughter or like the lesser included? And I keep looking at like how the defense is going at some of these witnesses, and like that might turn people off. Like, okay, they're going hard for like these little things because like they fight them on like, oh, what did she say? She hit him. Where does it say here? Like, we know what they're going at. They're going at saying, oh, well, see, at this time you said that this is when she said this, but if we look at the video, there's nothing here. And then Hank shows up the clips and she's like, yeah, I said I hit him. like, I don't think I said it that many times, but yeah, I said it. And like, if you're a juror, what are you thinking? Like, are you thinking like, well, all this stuff seems like a lot of nonsense, like Gallagher with the leaf blower, and this one knows this one, and Jen McCabe went up there, and oh my God. But then the clips play, and it's like, what? So, I mean, like, I know that we're not there yet, but I keep thinking like, it's scary, because I can definitely see that there's a way where the jury would look and say, well, I guess it is reasonable that she hit on like I think the less of the lowest of the lowest on charge 2. I think it's motor vehicle homicide or something like that. And the threshold is so low. And if they believe that whatever the Commonwealth theory is, again, we haven't seen the accident reconstructionist, but if they believe a little bit of that, I think it might be very possible that she ends up getting guilty on that. I mean, what are you guys thinking? I mean, that's what scares the shit out of me with this.
Well, Kathy wrote, I've been thinking about this for a long time. Jen knew what the guys had in mind, and that's why she pushed for Karen to go with her. Yeah, Kathy, that's exactly what I just said. And you believe the same thing too. There's got to be a reason that Jen would have wanted Karen to ride with her. And I think the whole dance in the bar, and I think MCAT might be right. Maybe Chris Albert was trying to be the voice of reason. Like, take this out. Let's take this back to 34 Fairview. Let's not do this here in the bar. So I think that's all very possible. And it makes, it just makes the most sense. It's really the 1 + 1 = 2, guys. So we have been on for 3 hours now. I wanted to play a little bit of Jen McCabe, but I think what we're going to do is just save it for Friday night, because my back is not good. So, and my mother's going to be going to bed soon, and I'm making too much noise. So we're going to have to call it. But before we go for tonight, I just wanted to ask you guys your thoughts about all the behavior, of Paul O'Keefe. Now, I feel bad for Paul O'Keefe for the grief of what he's lost. He lost his sister, his brother Alan, and his brother. And that is a hard pill to swallow. And it's tough to go on in life when you've lost that many loved ones. It happened to me. I lost 3 people right in a row in less than a year and a half. I know what that grief feels like. But with that being said, I don't like his behavior. I think he's nasty in court. I don't think he has any right to be allowed to sit there and stare Karen down like that. And they let it go the whole first trial, which I thought was absurd and very, very wrong, because Karen Read is innocent until proven guilty. That was a hung jury. And even before it was a hung jury, she had the protection under the law that she's innocent until proven guilty. So to allow the brother of the deceased to do what he did the whole first trial was an absolute sham to me. I thought that was just horrible and despicable. And I'm glad that they stopped it this trial. I'm glad that, but what I don't like is, you said that Karen's side was doing weird things too, but for the most part, the first trial, we don't see a lot of that, because the camera's not on Karen's family and friends. It's straight on all the O'Keefes and their family. But I think the judge, again, is trying to not play favorites. And so she kicked everybody out of the courtroom except for, and I was driving when this was happening. I think you were texting me, Shauna and Julie, about it. And Kathy was texting me updates too while I was driving here to Wisconsin. But even though she sort of played both sides to the middle, which I think she should have been much more aggressive towards Paul O'Keefe, because he was the main doer of all of this anger and staring down Karen. But I am glad they made the decision to boot him out of there. Anyway, what do you guys think of that? Are you glad that he was forced to move seats? And I mean, his shenanigans, his behavior during his brother's trial, now that we know that he was flirting with a woman and inviting her to come to the trial, and that was pretty embarrassing for him, for all that to come out. Obviously, he won't be the first husband to cheat on his wife, but it's not a good look when you are going to a trial of your dead brother and you're blaming Karen Read for his death, and then you're cheating on your wife in the background and basically wearing blue and doing signals to your girlfriend while she's watching the trial. It's pretty despicable, Paul. That's all. That's what I got to say to you.
Yeah, I mean, when this is going on, and I mean, it goes back to like what happened, like, again, when I watched trial number 1 again.
Wait, time out. Sorry, what's happening? What is this? What's going on? Rest in peace. Oh, thank you. I see. Yes. Yes, MCAT. That case is absolutely horrific. And I'll be doing more live streams with Kara about it. Thank you. I got a little behind in the chat and I wasn't sure if something just came over the news or something happened. You never know with this case. Breaking news could come at any time. So anyway, go ahead, Julie.
Yeah. Like pre-trial going up to trial number 1. I didn't do any of the social media stuff. I didn't know, YouTube was a thing. I just watched the pre-trial and trial number 1 on like local news and Boston.com, NBC 10, and just watch it that way. So I really wasn't aware, and like I would just read articles and they're like, well, stuff's going on in the courtroom, Karen and her faces, Karen and this, Karen and that. And it was like I just thought of it as like, oh well, they're just giving her a hard time because she's a woman, she's on trial, she dresses fancy because that was her work. And then between trial number 1, trial number 2, with the pretrial motions going to trial 2, all the shit that came with that, with like the quote unquote gangster party that she threw herself for not even boots on the ground people, for content creators and stuff like that.
Right.
To the shenanigans that Turtle kept pulling, where he's sitting in the jury section and holding his computer up and making faces and flashing everybody his crotch, and who's rolling their eyeballs and who's shaking their head at Hank every single time the camera rolls. I mean, I know that she said something to both sides, because now, right next to the podium, there's a court officer that sits there within shot. So there aren't people making faces like shaking their head, rolling their eyes. Like I've seen that. So I know that Bev has finally cracked down. I mean, trial number 1, I didn't like that Paul O'Keefe just stared at her and was like, why aren't they admonishing him? I mean, like it's clear that that they're playing favorites, but why isn't she admonishing him? But now that that we find out that there's stuff going on both sides, like at least she said something. That's a plus. But yeah, I mean, she's definitely playing.
Yeah. Well, the group text, we mentioned it a little bit on Friday Night Lives, but that's pretty damning as far as I'm concerned. And especially when there were comments made about, let's not text about that, when Carrie Roberts and Jen, yeah, we don't want to have anything in text that can, that can be proven what we did or didn't say. But this whole group text situation with, tell them the guy never came in the house. If that's not reasonable doubt for y'all, for a jury of 12 people, all we need is 1 out of 12 to think that there is something really bad going on with the Alberts and the McCabe's. That's it. You just need 1. And then you've got another hung jury, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah.
So even if 11 people are buying the song and dance that's being pitched by the Commonwealth, I have to believe there's at least 1 person who feels the way we do and would not be able to convict her on anything, even if you weren't sure if she did it or not. You would have to have reasonable doubt because of this group text. It's a big tell. Their behavior and all their little secret meetings is a big tell, right?
Yeah, I mean, Hank keeps pulling the consciousness of guilt. I mean, that seems to be his MO for this trial, which is like, we'll set the scene, kind of, sort of, maybe. I still think, in my opinion, that he's bluffing with some of the reconstructionists and everything else. Like they kept saying, like, oh, we're going to find a guy who's going to show that the ground temperature was frozen solid, and he's going to do this. And what happened? The guy came up and said, yeah, we do. I have my infrared thermometer, but it's basically just like a handheld gun that has a laser pointer that shows you the temperature on the surface of things. All that does is tell you what the surface contact temperature is at that particular time. It doesn't have anything to do with ground temperature. And as well, I mean, we'll show you either on Friday or another time, but that doesn't tell you how deep things go. There's geothermal heat that comes up from the bottom, that it takes a while for it to be solid as a rock or hot as a rock or whatever he said. And I still think that he's bluffing with a lot of this, and he's still kind of reaching, but he is trying to do consciousness of guilt. But if you flip it around and you go, well, what about consciousness of guilt with, another party? This group text situation right here, and what came out saying, oh, there'll be an episode and tell them the guy never came in the house, and oh, she'll definitely take a plea. If that's not consciousness of guilt, I don't know what is.
Exactly. And Shauna says, hey, I was wondering if HB was going to bother calling Brian Albert or Matt McCabe. Technically, he doesn't have to.
I don't think so. It doesn't seem like it. I mean, he's got to call Higgy, because that's, again, going to show consciousness of guilt, what he's going for. I don't think that he'll call Brian Albert or Matt McCabe, because, I mean, text messages came in with Jen this time. I don't see why you would need Matt McCabe to come in. I don't see I really don't see like why the Commonwealth would call Brian Albert, because I mean they're gonna say like, yeah, I was, stripping my wife and we passed out, and then my sister-in-law came running in and we, stumbled down the stairs because we were, passed out asleep. Like what is he going to contribute really? And then what can
he contributes? He contributes nothing to the Commonwealth. He contributes, a lot to the defense because of his evasiveness and all these stupid excuses for the butt dials and for not coming out of the house and on and on. But yeah, MCAT says defense will call BA if Spanky doesn't. Yeah, I agree completely.
You think so? Why?
That's what MCAT says, that defense will call Brian Albert.
Yeah, but why would the prosecution call Matt McCabe? I was trying to think of this too. It was like it seems very slimmed down. I don't know why he would call him Matt McCabe, unless it would just corroborate Matt McCabe saying that Karen was very hysterical that morning.
I think if anything, just to back up his wife, just to back up Jen.
Yeah, because then Matt McCabe would be subject to the cross and say, "Hey, did you send these group texts to your wife about how there was an episode and all this?"
And he comes off very snarky on the cross and very egotistical, very snobby almost. So I don't know. I think it'd be a risk for the prosecution to call him. But Shauna says, right, MCAT, defense will, but cross with HB will be so different. So Shauna thinks the cross with
with Brennan.
Oh, yeah. I see what you're saying. Yeah, if the defense calls him, then Brennan Hanky Panky will be on the cross then, right?
Yeah, and it'll be limited to because the defense, when the defense's turn is up, they can't impeach the witnesses unless they have them, I guess, qualified as a hostile witness. And I don't know if Bev's gonna go for it. So it's gonna be tough. Like that's the problem that they're gonna have with Proctor, because I very much don't think that the prosecution is going to call Proctor. They're really trying hard to circumnavigate Proctor. And I mean, you got to bring him in somehow and say, "Hey, are you still a trooper? Tell us about it."
Well, that's just another line item for reasonable doubt. This was on Dr. Turtleboy's Twitter. He said the McAlberts were already discussing Karen Read taking a plea deal on the day she was arrested. They wanted this all to go away quickly. And he's absolutely right about that. They never expected this to go to trial. There's no way. And that's why Jen McCabe never said, I hit him in the grand jury. Because they never expected this would go where it went. So they had to readjust their stories and what they were going to stay on the stand by the time the trial came around. They weren't prepared for it to go this far. Right, it will be flipped. Just a thought, maybe HB will call them. I don't know. Yeah. We'll find out sooner than later. MCAT says, I think they cannot leave Jen hanging without Matt calling husband. I could be very wrong, but that happened once in my life. LOL. Okay. Yeah, thanks, MCAT. I agree with you. I think they will call Matt just to back up Jen, but I don't know. They didn't call him last time. Remember, they testified one right after the other.
But I mean, but that was Lally's strategy, which is basically
right. Lally's strategy is very different than Hank. But so this was put up on Twitter X that Hank is set to make about $225,000 just on this one case. Yeah. That's more than a lot of us have made in, years, and he's getting that for one trial for like an 8-week period. So it'll be interesting to see, what techniques he uses or what he's going to put up, tomorrow. Now, who do we expect to be called tomorrow? Does anybody know?
Well, so at the end of the day today, Bev said that because she kept calling them up for a lot of the stuff with Jessica Hyde, but she kept calling them up to talk about scheduling. I'm like, why the hell is she talking about scheduling now? So I guess
I caught that too. I thought that was really odd.
So I guess that they're going to have a witness who is going to take some time. So it's like, all right, who's going to take time? Higgy's going to take time, and then I guess they said that either Tully or Yuri will be called next. It's like, oh, that's interesting. Like, because
yes, you're right.
You got to talk about the whole investigation. You got to talk about bringing the car in the Sally Port and looking at it in that way. You got to talk about going to the medical examiner and getting those results. You need to talk to who the hell else did he talk to? He talked to like you got to talk about all the witnesses that you talked about in the investigation, and it was he and Proctor. Well, you can't call Proctor, so I think it's going to be Yuri. So he's going to be, I think, longer. What else did Yuri do?
Oh gosh.
He did what? Because I'm trying to think who else could they call instead of that? Like they tried to bring the kid today, Keith, to say like, oh yeah, we were there, and here's this piece that was there, and they had nothing to do with it really, except he was at the site with the CERT team. Again, I don't know why they call that person. I mean, he could have called Proctor, but I guess they went with this kid. So who else can they call in lieu of Proctor to talk about all this stuff?
Well, yeah, I mean, who can they call though?
Because you call Canton and they're going to bring up the audit.
Right.
I mean, that's the whole reason why they brought Gallagher, because the stupid audit said, oh, so innovative, so wonderful. Yeah, use this on a novel crime scene where you don't know what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's going to go along with it. You bring anybody else and they're going to say, hey, remember when you said this, that, and the other thing? And then they might bring up Sandra Butchmore that way too, because that happened in Canton.
Oh, she died in Canton, and then her death was, they didn't even consider for a second that it wasn't an unaliving of herself.
Nope.
They did no proper investigation. They never even considered that she was murdered. It was just, it's just disgusting, what happened with Sandra Birchmore, that whole thing. And a lot of those Canton cops were, involved.
Yeah, there was what was it? Well, no, Fanning State Trooper, but Fanning, there was Lake, there was who the hell was the other one? Was Sergeant Good there too? I think Good might have been there too.
Yeah,
that was the other person they could call too. They could call Lank and they could call Good, but they're not going to call either one of those.
Right. Well, to take us out tonight, I'm going to fair use our friend Auntie Deb and show a little bit of her parody humor. So let me share my screen here with y'all, and we'll have a little bit of parody humor in this dark, sad case. It's parody can help out sometimes when you're dealing with crime and sadness and all the tragedy that's involved. Those of us that are trying to stand and advocate for Karen Read and John O'Keefe, I find Auntie Deb's parody helpful. Others don't like it because they don't think there's anything funny at all about this case, and they have that opinion. They're allowed to it. I actually needed a little bit of taking the edge off, a little bit of laughter that Auntie Deb has been able to provide us with in all of his many, many, many creations. So go to his channel, Auntie Deb, and he uses the woman from My Cousin Vinny as his picture. So you can look for that if you're looking for him.
Mona Lisa Vito.
Mona Lisa, yeah. So anyway, let me play this for you guys. This was from a while ago, but it's let me see if I can make it. I want to make it bigger for you guys. Whoops, that's not the one I wanted. There we go. Let me make it bigger.
He's gonna have a field day with all the stuff from Jessica Hyde today.
Oh, I know. I'll keep an eye open tomorrow for Friday night. For Friday Night Lies, yeah, for Friday Night Lies, we'll definitely have to show him as Jessica Hyde, because I personally think he's awesome. I mean, he's great at Judge Bev and he's great at all the characters, but he really did Jessica Hyde really great. Yep. So, okay, let me play this for you guys. Let me know if you can hear it.
I can't hear it.
You can't hear it?
No.
Okay. Can you guys hear it? Sometimes we can't hear these in our studio. If you guys can hear it, that's all we care about. But sometimes we can't hear it on the platform. So just let me know you guys can hear it.
Repeat that, but this time in America.
Can you hear it now, Julie?
Yeah, now I can hear it. Yeah.
In my 30 years, I can't say I've been in that. Good morning, jury. Good morning, judge. Good morning, fine people of Norfolk County. Sorry about that. Excuse me. Every morning, Dunkin' Donuts. I for their birthday, I bring that. I'll allow it.
Yep. I'll allow it.
So when the trooper got there, can you please repeat that? But this time in American.
Can you use
the
different
Alberts
words?
And the McCabe's had nothing to do with this.
It was all her.
Here. The neighbor did provide a container, plastic container, we sealed, and kind of I can't remember. Yes. Down to the station, to the Canton Police Department. My two friends. It was a very circumstantial situation. Yes, the bitchiest girls in Canton. Yes. Yes. We did put the before we did inform the Massachusetts
The witness
State
advocate.
Police.
The witness advocate.
I don't know. Yes.
Yeah, you
You know, we all went home. I know they should not be that bitchy looking like that. I understand. The Canton Police Department. Yes, of course I am. Why else do my eyebrows look like this? Yes. I wish he had. Doesn't even look me in the eye anymore. He procedurally the swabs in having a White Claw inside the cups. Which is Colin was his son. Keep it moving, please. Boston Police to just a waterfall. 30 years. Bukaki, come home.
Yeah.
I go upstairs.
say
Retire.
thank you for being my
I
angel.
say goodnight to my parents. I kiss them goodnight.
Right.
What? I say I love you. Thank you for being my angels. Bukaki. And I come downstairs and I say my prayers. Yeah. Well, I don't know. He must have confused his notes. I'm not sure. Having a couple of White Claws as usual.
7 o'clock.
Let's move on. They came over and we went to bed as usual. Pinky swear. So Jackson, can we get this over with? Okay, this is my off season. Usually by this time I'm already over the Sagamore Bridge, knee deep in clams. And I brushed my teeth.
Okay.
Just my White Claw. Thank you. Thank you. Where's Julie Albert? Julie, can I have some of that White Claw? I don't, did I take a picture?
I
Matt
love
McCabe.
this Matt McCabe is
I don't know,
awesome.
maybe he thought that I meant something else. It was all her.
It was all her.
I did, yeah, the talking like girlfriends. Yes, just talking like
This
girlfriends.
is funny.
The Oriental neighbors.
We friends?
Yeah.
No.
The Asians. Oh, regular normal girlfriends. What? My family. I can't recall. Are we girlfriends? No. Do you mind using different words? I never talked to them. They, fa ra 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 ra. Yeah, I have a number. No. Could you say that in English? Yeah. The witness advocate. The witness advent calendar. And yeah. Sustained. Okay. Let's move on. Could you please rephrase those words? I'll allow it. Can you answer that question? Can you, honey? Are you that stupid?
Yep.
Oh gosh. Thank you, Jimmy, for allowing me to fair use your parody comedy. I think I'm going to start to show one a night when we close out Friday Night Lies. I need that moment to smile because this truly is a horrific case, and it is corruption and crime exemplified. And people that don't get that or understand that and that are questioning how so many people could be in on a crime, you really don't pay a lot of attention to true crime, do you? Because there's always a lot of people involved in corruption. And I'll bring Ed Byers on some night again with us on Friday Night Lies, and he can give you a little bit of an indication of how many people were in the corrupt circle that they brought down in Clark County, Indiana. So good night, MCAT. Thank you for coming. Advent calendar. Thank you, Kat.
Kathy, Kim, Shauna, Brian, gosh, everybody that I hope I covered all of you that were in our friend zone. More of you were live with us tonight and you did not comment, which is fine. You don't have to. We don't need you to, but we love it when we have an active live friend zone because it helps Julie and I so we can bounce things off of you. And you always have something very intelligent to share because you're all following this case so closely. So let's get some freedom for Karen Read and get her off the trial duty here. I can't even imagine how this is going to go if it's a hung jury again. I just can't even. I don't know if anybody can take it. I don't know if anybody can stand up to it or hold up to it, Julie.
I don't know. I mean, again, it scares the shit out of me thinking that with such a low threshold, I mean, even if it just gives like the whiff of, oh, well, there was a car, like the last time where they said, well, she was there, he was there, and there was a car. So obviously it must be motor vehicle homicide. Like if we get something like that again, or they get something like that again, I mean, ridiculous, because what does that do? That lets whoever did this to Officer John O'Keefe off the hook. And if that's the case, like think of what that's going to implicate for everyone else in the future, saying like, well, there's no rules anymore because look at the efforts that we put into getting this done with Karen Read. And if we went through all this and now she's going to jail and, you know, whoever did this to him gets off scot-free, now we get to do whatever the hell we want. And that scares the shit out of me as someone who lives here. So
of course, and all of you that live in Massachusetts, this level of crime and corruption that you've witnessed in the Sandra Birchmore case and many of the other cases, Enrique, who was killed at the Massachusetts police training in what was supposed to be a training boxing match, went very wrong and very deadly. And then there's quite a few other very bizarre homicides and deaths that have not been solved in your state. It would be scary to live there right now. And especially seeing how the select board behaves, you know, is just terrible. So, well, thanks everyone. We appreciate that you joined us for Friday Night Lies on a Wednesday, and we'll be back Friday to recap this whole week and to talk more about this very bizarre theater of the absurd that is the John O'Keefe manslaughter, what we believe to be a manslaughter that happened to him and he lost his life. So we're terribly sorry for the family and for all the friends of John O'Keefe. We hope he gets justice, because we know he deserves it. Anybody that's been unalived by someone else's hand deserves justice. So we'll be back Friday. Tomorrow night will be a very short live, but I will be giving you updates on where is Sarah Ebersol and what is happening right now with that case. Like I kind of teased earlier, I ended up in a texting conversation with one of the suspects in the missing Sarah Ebersol case that was quite dark and scary. So I'll share a little bit about that tomorrow night. And what's happening with Michelle right now is this dark and scary person is taking her to court, claiming that she is stalking him, which is completely not true at all. And adding more, drama and stress to her life that she doesn't need while she's trying to look for her missing sister, the mother of her niece. So I'll give you updates on that. And then we have a pretty good update from Kara on the Jason Veach debacle in Volusia County. She had a conversation with the DA. They had all kinds of excuses in the world why they didn't prosecute. He actually brought up the state attorney actually brought up the Florida Stand Your Ground law, and it's an interesting audio conversation. So we'll update you. I don't know if Michelle and Kara will join me tomorrow night or not, but I will be updating on both those cases tomorrow night, and then a few other updates on a few of the other cases. So I'll be doing a short live tomorrow night, and then we'll be back again Friday night with Julie, craziest person on earth, blogologist. Thank you, Julie.
We're going to do some science on Friday because a lot of science came out this week. It seems very, very heavy. And I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if they brought the accident reconstructionist this week. If they do that, then, I mean, we should talk about that. But yeah, we'll do some science because like I said, the meteorologist, which is their hard as a rock guy, came out and for whatever reason, Hank kept asking, what's his face, Ryan Nagel, the expert Ryan Nagel, was the ground frozen solid? Was it hard as a rock? He kept asking all these people, like, well, what qualifies you? Like, is that it? I thought they were going to bring somebody to actually take samples and compare. Right. But if that's it, then, and you only use 3 days as a data set. My data set's way bigger, and I have actual proof of what solid as a rock means. So we'll see.
Yeah. Okay, good. I'm excited. I love your science, Julie. So, all right, everybody, thanks for a great evening discussing freeing Karen Read and getting justice for John O'Keefe. I'll see you tomorrow night with my Calling Out Corruption live stream at 8 p.m. Eastern. And Friday night, we'll be back with Friday Night Lies at 8 p.m. Eastern. All right, everybody, have a good night. Here's our theme song to take us out for the evening.
Night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
They try to silence the truth we shout, but we're still here, we're still calling out. Corruption hides behind a badge of name. We light the fire, expose the shame. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life mattered is the cry we sing for the ones they tried to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run nor hide. The stories echo, the pain runs deep. For stolen lives we can't just weep. Elected power, but their hearts are cold. We'll bring the truth, let it be told. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life mattered is the cry we sing for the ones they tried to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run nor hide. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight. The heroes undo the harm. Calling out corruption, we'll stand tall for justice and truth, we'll risk it all.